the mountain style, E-grade skill, 2 energy crystals. Su Yunzhou remained relatively composed. In contrast, the expressions of the others were filled with incredulity. Even the 2 ordinary quality items in Tier 1 were passable in terms of effectiveness, not to mention the several fine-grade items. The 3 items in Tier 2 even stirred a sense of excitement within Su Yunzhou. Thunderstone? Is this not the energy stone essential for upgrading to a level 4 train? To think it could be found here. The black butterfly did not rush anyone. She patiently waited for all to finish their perusal before continuing. Next, I shall introduce the 10th rank train conductor based on comprehensive strength. I will announce their name, train level, and personal level, allowing them to make their selection. 10th place, Wu Shuang. Upon hearing this name, Su Yunzhou immediately turned to the individual indicated by the black butterfly. Naturally, his reaction was not singular, as the other 8 also fixed their gazes upon her. This girl, named Wu Shuang, appeared somewhat dazed. Her eyes sparkled with vitality, yet bore a hint of foolishness. Her visage was beautiful, yet her clear, bewildered gaze was striking. Clutching a sword in her arms, she donned plain white attire devoid of any patterns. Upon hearing her name, she promptly stood up. Is it me? Her voice, in conjunction with her petite stature of merely 156 centimeters and modest chest, led the crowd to momentarily mistake her for a middle school student. Su Yunzhou was left utterly stunned. Wait, where's my muscular brother? Why is a little girl? The black butterfly remained composed as she regarded this sword-wielding girl. Train level 1. Upon uttering this, the other 8 seemed to harbor a sense of secret satisfaction. The reason was simple. Their trains had long since ascended to level 2. As for Su Yunzhou, he undeniably exists on a higher plane. As a level 3 train passenger, he could no longer derive any sense of superiority from being on the first-class train. However, the next statement from the black butterfly startled even Su Yunzhou. Personal level, level 4. How could this be? The youth beside Su Yunzhou immediately rose to his feet, his face a mask of disbelief. Clearly, I am the protagonist. How could she possibly have a higher level than I do? I am merely at level 2. Upon hearing these words, not only Su Yunzhou, but most of those present instantly deduced the identity of the young man. Yi Feng. It was unavoidable. He was exceedingly active in the chat room, and his remarks exuded a palpable sense of self-importance as the protagonist, leaving a lasting impression. Wu Shuang maintained a bewildered expression, her clear eyes reflecting confusion as she gazed at Yi Feng. Yet before long, the black butterfly gestured for Yi Feng to be silent. Wu Shuang, please select your challenge. Level 2. Very well. With a snap of her fingers, a pitch-black circular void appeared beneath Wu Shuang's feet, and she fell into it. Immediately, the screens of the other 9 individuals displayed a vivid scene. Within the dark cavern, a 3-meter-tall cyclopean troll, with a single crimson eye and skin as coarse as rock, sat vacantly on the ground. However, a sudden noise soon captured its attention. Wu Shuang landed steadily, her sword gleaming with a cold light. Its hilt firmly grasped in her petite hand, her white attire strikingly evident in the cavern's dimness. The once dazed cyclopean troll abruptly stood, its massive frame stirring a gust of foul wind that sent debris tumbling from the cave ceiling. With a deafening roar, the troll's bellow shook the very air. Although the creature wielded no weapon, its colossal fist, slicing through the air with a menacing force, descended upon Wu Shuang with catastrophic intent. The sheer power behind the blow could shatter stone. Should it connect, it would surely spell either death or dismemberment. Yet, Wu Shuang maintained a stoic expression, her gaze as clear as water, betraying not a hint of fear or panic. To the others, excluding Su Yunzhou, her movements seemed nothing short of miraculous. Akin to an exhilarating action film, her petite form glided like smoke, evading the strike with graceful agility. The troll's fist grazed her garment, crashing into the ground with a resounding thud, creating a deep crater and sending dust billowing into the air. In the next instant, a flash of swordlight, so swift it was nearly imperceptible, darted toward the troll's knee joint. With a precise thrust, the sword tip pierced true, eliciting a pained howl from the troll as its massive body swayed. Blood spurted forth, yet this creature, evidently tough-skinned and resilient, sustained no grave injury. Enraged, the cyclopean troll's eye blazed with fury. It wildly swung its arms, attempting to corner the diminutive girl. despite the cavern's profound darkness. Wu Shuang moved as if one with the shadows, executing a ghostly dance to evade the troll's assaults while seizing every opportunity to counterattack. In but a moment, Wu Shuang remained unscathed, while the giant lay battered and bruised. It was over. Even at this juncture, her speech retained an odd, somewhat foolish pause. Yet this peculiar mannerism did not impede the fluidity of her swordplay. With a slash, a blinding white sword aura erupted, exploding against the giant, causing those present to squint against the brilliance. With a swift stroke, the giant's head was neatly severed, its lifeless form wobbling before collapsing to the ground. In the next instant, the sword was sheathed, and the figure in white remained unchanged. Even Su Yunzhou was taken aback. Had he not already witnessed the formidable power of the demon-piercing star annihilation bullet, he would have been thoroughly astonished by that strike. It was then that Su Yunzhou finally comprehended how the neatly severed corpses of the monstrous beings had come to be. Chapter 31. The Battle of the Audition Snap. Another finger snap echoed. From the dark circular pit beneath Wu Shuang's seat, a platform slowly rose, upon which she stood with poise. The black butterfly had yet to speak when an excited young voice rang out. The leading lady. You truly are the leading lady. So powerful, so impressive. You are undoubtedly the leading lady. Upon hearing this, Wu Shuang furrowed her brow and replied, I am not. Her words seemed to cost her great effort, each syllable requiring immense strength to articulate. Su Yunzhou then realized that she had been using voice input all along, explaining the peculiar pauses that had accompanied her speech. No, you. Yifeng attempted to interject, but felt a powerful force descend upon him, compelling him to return to his seat. Unbeknownst to him, the black butterfly had approached his side, a featureless, metallic black mask pressing against his face. Silence. Can you manage that? The audition platform posed no real danger. But that did not preclude me from making you feel pain. So please, remain quiet. At the very least, do not disrupt my work if you would be so kind. To onlookers, this scene appeared as a faceless man whispering something unsettling to Yifeng. Yet in Yifeng's perception, he was submerged in a liquid of density several times that of water. He struggled to breathe as immense pressure bore down upon him, as though he were being crushed. I understand. Yifeng managed to force out those few words with all his might. Thank you for your cooperation. The black butterfly flickered, returning to the center of the platform. Ms. Wu Shuang, congratulations on your triumph over the Cyclops. It was indeed a crushing victory. Please select your reward. Soon, 3 exquisite items floated before Wu Shuang. Su Yunzhou was not concerned about her choosing the Thunderstone. After spending several days in her company, he could discern that her mental state was firmly entrenched in a phase of innocence and ignorance. It was the kind of belief that, once she deemed someone a good person, she would trust them entirely. Conversely, once she decided someone was a villain, she would assuredly eliminate them. At least for now, Su Yunzhou still perceives him as an exceptionally good person, not only providing her with sustenance, but also aiding her with wheels for her rescue. What he desires in return are merely items of little utility to her. The Thunderstone, now in Wu Shuang's possession, could be exchanged for at least 75 different items from Su Yunzhou. However, her chosen reward was the floating light sword. With a flick of her hand, Black Butterfly conjured a 1-meter-long sword that hovered in the air, gracefully descending into Wu Shuang's grasp. Upon seeing it, she cherished it as a treasure, handling it with utmost care. 9th place, Zhang Qilong. The selection process continued, and this time, a name familiar to Su Yunzhou emerged. A somewhat disheveled, middle-aged man appeared, bearing a longbow on his back, a hand crossbow at his waist, and 3 quivers filled with arrows hanging from him. Upon witnessing this figure, Su Yunzhou instantly recognized him as Zhang Qilong, the one who had sold her the crossbow bolts. To her surprise, he was indeed among the top 10. Train level, 2nd class. Personal level, level 1. Su Yunzhou immediately sensed something amiss. However, when Zhang Qilong opted for a first-tier battle and entered the combat arena, he waved at Black Butterfly. Given the recent events involving Yifeng, why should he trouble the laborers? Is there an issue? In a normal exchange, Black Butterfly was quite amicable. How is the overall strength ranked? Su Yunzhou inquired. Naturally, the train level is prioritized, followed by personal level. If those are the same, it then compares who leveled up faster. Black Butterfly replied matter-of-factly. Is that truly the case? Wu Shuang also entered the top 10 due to her own level 4 personal status, a question Su Yunzhou had not yet voiced was answered directly. Indeed, there are other factors, but primarily, her current strength could easily be compared to level 10. The two spoke in hushed tones, their conversation unnoticed by others. Although it caught Yi Feng's attention, who perceived it as a clear alliance between two nefarious characters, conspiring together in a wretched manner. His hands clenched tightly beneath the table. His gaze toward them filled with resentment. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. Do not underestimate the youth and poverty. Yi Feng silently recited this phrase, fighting back tears. After obtaining the answer she sought, Su Yunzhou turned her attention to the screen, where Zhang Qilong was engaged in battle with a creature. He had chosen a first-tier enemy, a large, entirely white wolf-like beast. Su Yunzhou estimated its combat prowess to be comparable to that of the mutated mayor's wife zombie from Bloody Town. Not exactly a boss, but certainly an elite-type monster. After a fierce struggle, Zhang Qilong managed to slay the white wolf, albeit at the cost of one of his arms. This spectacle left the onlookers utterly astounded. He is indeed a formidable individual. Although his equipment and skills are significantly lacking, his combat awareness is commendable, and he possesses remarkable courage. However, upon Zhang Qilong's return to the platform, everyone was astonished to find him completely unscathed. Not a single wound, or even a trace of blood marred his appearance. The black butterfly then directly prompted Zhang Qilong to select a first-tier reward, to which he promptly chose the rice ball tree seed. The next few names were somewhat familiar to Su Yunzhou, as they had surplus resources that could be sold on the trading exchange. These sellers were bound to gain notoriety, just as Su Yunzhou initially garnered attention through his sale of food. Soon, the fifth individual was announced. He was a boy with a delicate appearance, reminiscent of a K-pop idol, always wearing a subtle smile. The fifth place was taken by Sakamoto Kyoto. Train level, second tier. Personal level, level 2. Sakamoto Kyoto stood up and surveyed the remaining 4 individuals whose names had yet to be called. Am I truly only in 5th place? I can only wonder how formidable the rest of you must be. He glanced at the black butterfly, contemplated for a moment, and then decisively nodded. I choose a second-tier enemy. After the black butterfly uttered these words, Sakamoto Kyoto entered a small island. Su Yunzhou was quite familiar with this island. It was the Xianin Cave. Upon entering the cave, Sakamoto Kyoto encountered a white-bearded elder who was glaring at him with a fierce expression. 3 minutes later, this is impossible. The strength of that old man is on a completely different level compared to the one-eyed giant I faced earlier. After being ruthlessly slain in the illusory battle, Sakamoto Kyoto returned to the selection space and confronted the black butterfly with questions. In response to such reasonable inquiries, the black butterfly calmly provided an explanation. In truth, the elder's power could only be sustained for 5 minutes, and his mobility was confined within a small magical array. Though formidable, he was subject to numerous restrictions, which is why he was rated as a second-tier opponent, akin to the one-eyed giant. Upon hearing this, Sakamoto Kyoto realized that he had been overly eager in this battle. His misjudgment of the situation had ultimately led to his swift defeat. It is worth mentioning that both the black butterfly and Sakamoto Kyoto communicated in Japanese, yet their conversation was automatically translated for the ears of others, thus eliminating any concerns about language barriers. Chapter 32. The breeding of fate cards. Next, the 4th individual was announced, Verloster. Naturally, Su Yunzhou recognized him at a glance. Besides his golden hair, his crimson pupils had already betrayed his identity. As he stood up, a pair of pitch-black bat wings unexpectedly sprouted from his back. Witnessing this, the others, apart from Su Yunzhou, were taken aback. Could it be that this fellow had obtained the blood of a vampire? Uncertain of the vampire's powers, Yi Feng directly inquired, Su Yunzhou, would you rather sell to a foreigner than to me? Su Yunzhou shot him a glare and retorted, could you please be quiet? I too wish to observe the essence of this vampire race. Do not disturb me. Upon hearing this, Yi Feng felt a surge of anger. Yet the lingering fear from past events restrained him from causing a scene. Surprisingly, however, Rost was merely challenging a first-tier adversary. Everyone had presumed that he would opt for a more formidable opponent, a second-tier foe, yet he chose only to confront the first tier. Sakamoto Kyoto glanced at him, grinning as he asked, aren't you tempted to challenge a second-tier enemy? The reward for the second tier are vastly superior. Rost, maintaining a calm demeanor, replied, I can sense that my strength is insufficient to contend with a second tier. My chances of victory are at most 30%. I would rather refrain from action than risk failure. Very well, Sakamoto chuckled, neither affirming nor denying his stance. Their mentalities perfectly mirrored the two types of trained conductors present. The aggressive type, which represents greater rewards, yet encounters peril more readily, risking the loss of resources or even facing fatal consequences, and the cautious type, which progresses steadily while significantly reducing the likelihood of danger, though their gains are often meager, relying on a consistent, gradual approach. As for Su Yunju, he managed to secure rewards even more advantageous than those of the aggressive type while maintaining a secure footing. Rost steadily vanquished his adversary and claimed a first-tier reward. The Black Butterfly then announced the next contestant. Third place, Yifeng. Upon hearing his name, Yifeng could no longer remain composed. After all, he was the protagonist. How could he settle for third place? This was utterly disappointing. In his view, the remaining two were Su Yunju and a stunningly beautiful yet cold woman. He could tolerate the latter, as she might be the female lead. But what made Su Yunju worthy of ranking above him? Yifeng initially contemplated vociferously questioning this, but the earlier incident with the Black Butterfly had instilled a psychological shadow over him. He suppressed his outburst, casting a resentful glare at Su Yunju. Then, he observed Su Yunju and the icy woman exchanging glances filled with unspoken messages. Clearly, he had misjudged the situation. Su Yunju's expression conveyed a dangerous woman. Could her train be at level 3? Is she here to seize the Thunderstone? Meanwhile, Qin Ruoshui's gaze expressed, how infuriating. She deceived me with a mere photograph of canned peaches, resulting in half a bucket of bathwater. The selection continued. Third place, Yifeng. Train level 2. Personal level 2. Except for Su Yunju, nearly everyone present was stuck at train level 2. Of course, if they pooled their resources, they could muster enough to elevate one or two individuals to level 3. Yet these individuals are acutely aware of the significance of resources. They yearn to acquire secondary timber, metals, and the precious metals of gold and silver, much like Su Yunju. However, they lack the abundance of sustenance that he possesses. Managing to have a single meal a day is already a stroke of good fortune. Wu Shuang, relying on selling equipment, can procure 2 compressed biscuits daily from Su Yunju, along with ample water resources, ensuring that she does not go hungry. Meanwhile, Qin Ruoshui was on the verge of resorting to eating insects before scavenging the supermarket in the bloody town. Chicken-flavored, delightfully crunchy, with protein 6 times that of beef. The plight of the others is easily imagined. This explains why Zhang Qilong decisively acquired the seeds of a common rice ball tree. His sole desire is to satiate his hunger. At this moment, Yifeng predictably chose to confront a formidable adversary of the second tier. Let me see who is worthy to stand as my opponent. Yifeng fell into the inky black abyss, only to emerge in an endless expanse of green fields. Ha ha ha! Let me behold who is truly deserving of being my rival. He surveyed his surroundings, laughter booming from his lips. His arrogance was almost palpable. Just then, the space ahead began to warp, and a tall, swift figure gradually materialized. The foe was a humanoid creature, of similar height to Yifeng, with skin of a deep olive green, possessing long, cold, golden-slit pupils and sharply pointed ears. Most striking was the oddly shaped hooked spear it wielded, its shaft entwined with vines and its tip glimmering with an ethereal blue light. If one were to draw a comparison, this creature might resemble a goblin sprite. Of course, Su Yunju and the others were already aware of this monster's name, the Forest Demon. Yet, that was all they knew. More information had not been divulged by the Black Butterfly. It seems you are to be my adversary. Yifeng's aura surged, a green light bursting forth from his form, coalescing around him like armor. The Forest Demon narrowed its golden slit pupils, focusing intently on Yifeng, akin to a predator fixating on its prey. It sensed Yifeng's arrogance and disdain, a perfect signal for a hunter accustomed to leveraging the environment and the weaknesses of its foes. The Forest Demon uttered a series of incomprehensible, brief syllables interspersed with the sound of rustling leaves, its body slightly crouching. What tricks do you intend to play before me? Prepare yourself. Yifeng bellowed, launching the first strike. He propelled himself forward with tremendous force, his body shooting forth like a cannonball. As his spear sliced through the air in a sharp arc, aimed directly at the Forest Demon's head. However, this attack was effortlessly evaded by the foe. Damn, it dodged rather quickly. Yifeng, witnessing his strike miss its mark, became not alarmed but rather more incensed, attributing the evasion to mere luck. Do you only know how to flee, you green savage? He swiftly altered his approach, his wrist twisting as his long spear swept horizontally toward the retreating figure of the forest demon. However, the demon deftly stepped back, evading the strike with ease while simultaneously launching 3 green projectiles that struck the ground beneath Yi Feng's feet. In the next moment, a thick green mist rapidly enveloped Yi Feng. He felt his eyes dry, his breath constricted, and a dizziness clouded his mind, nearly causing him to falter. Summoning all his willpower, he forced himself through the toxic fog, charging onward to continue his assault on the forest demon. Yet, emerging from a mist, he was met with a slender poisoned spear aimed directly at him. Had it been aimed at his torso, Yi Feng might have evaded it, but alas, the spear sought his left calf. He glanced down sharply to see the fabric of his pant leg torn, revealing a wound over an inch long, its edges exhibiting an eerie pale blue hue, swiftly accompanied by a mingling sensation of numbness and searing pain. Damn it, how dare you wound me? Using poison? Yi Feng seethed with a mix of fury and shock, the agony and the toxin's numbing effect disorienting him. Just then, a vibrant green light radiated from him. Destiny card, proliferation, Yi Feng shouted, and to his astonishment, his wound began to heal rapidly, invigorating him and eradicating any signs of poisoning. Clearly, this was one of his abilities, and it was undoubtedly a formidable one. Su Yinzhou squinted, intrigued. Destiny card? The other 9 shared his curiosity, their minds racing with thoughts. In truth, throughout this battle, each individual's abilities would be somewhat revealed. This was also the reason some chose to face first-tier enemies. They preferred lesser rewards to avoid exposing their trump cards. However, Yi Feng was different. He was someone who would give his all. At this moment, he held nothing back, showcasing every ability at his disposal. What was even more astonishing was his penchant for vocally announcing the names of his skills and equipment effects, thereby further revealing his full combat prowess. Yet, despite the overwhelming aura emanating from Yi Feng, he engaged in a cat-and-mouse game with the forest demon. The demon employed various tactics to restrain him, while Yi Feng relentlessly pursued, coming close to defeating his opponent several times, yet failing to deliver a fatal blow. 1 minute later, Yi Feng suddenly halted. The forest demon, with remarkable swiftness, plunged the poisoned spear into Yi Feng's eye and began to twist it mercilessly. Nevertheless, even under such grievous injury, Yi Feng retained the ability to act. He bore the excruciating pain, roaring as he thrust his spear toward the forest demon. In the next moment, he collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Yet, the forest demon, despite being pierced through the heart, did not immediately succumb. Subsequently, the illusion dissipated. Chapter 33. Frantic Thorn rose, Yi Feng returned to the selection platform, drenched in sweat. Except for Su Yunzhua and Qin Ruoshui, the others were all filled with uncertainty and astonishment. They were evidently shocked by Yi Feng's prowess. The mere ability to pursue a second-tier adversary, albeit for just a minute, was indeed formidable. The destiny card has been nurtured. I never anticipated that you had already obtained it. Truly, you were favored by fate at that moment. The black butterfly spoke. However, there was a tone of disappointment and disdain in his voice towards Yi Feng. Despite being evenly matched in strength, the outcome of the battle resulted in mutual destruction, and it was indeed disgraceful that you perished before your opponent. Your combat awareness is utterly abysmal. From the outset, your arrogance and disdain led to easily being provoked by the enemy, culminating in a complete loss of rationality with numerous blunders. You seem unaware of when to employ skills, exert your power, or maneuver judiciously. At that juncture, Su Yunzhua interjected, if you wish to instruct him on combat, perhaps it would be better to do so privately? Should we not prioritize completing the selection process? Upon hearing this, Yi Feng, who had initially thought that the black butterfly was mercilessly mocking him, remained oblivious. Yet, the intelligence of the others was more than sufficient to grasp that the black butterfly had subtly pointed out Yi Feng's shortcomings during the battle. Nevertheless, Yi Feng continued to glare at the black butterfly with a mix of anger and humiliation. After a few moments of silence, the black butterfly apologetically addressed Su Yunzhua. I sincerely apologize. It has become a habit. Indeed, the selection process is of utmost importance. He then turned to Yi Feng, stating, the result of the battle is that you perish before your opponent. Thus, you have lost. Yi Feng, in this selection, you shall gain nothing. No, how could this be? My strength is undeniable. I possess the destiny card. Enough, the black butterfly dismissed Yi Feng's murmured protests, returning to the center of the platform. As long as there was no uproar disrupting his work, he could tolerate it. He continued, announcing the second place. Second place, Qin Ruoxue. Train level, second tier. Personal level, level 3. Qin Ruoxue then cast a knowing glance towards Su Yunjua. The others also turned their gazes in his direction. Su Yunjua confidently leaned back, arms crossed, and declared with an air of superiority, "What? Can't you tell I am your brother, Su?" To those with a sense of pride, this statement was undoubtedly grating. How arrogant! Yet, there were others who felt no offense whatsoever. Wu Shuang's eyes sparkled as she called out, "Su, brother Su." The burly Zhang Qilong also clasped his hands and exclaimed, "Brother Su." Walrus T further added a hearty "Su, bro." Hee. Qin Ruoxue smiled with a hint of mockery as she turned to the black butterfly, second tier. The process is the same as before. She then stepped into a desolate desert, where her adversary awaited, a colossal worm-like creature. Qin Ruoxue donned a modern-style combat leather jacket, replete with pockets brimming with pre-loaded magazines. She carried a shotgun and a scorpion pistol at her side, while a hefty cylindrical object rested on her back. Remarkably, Qin Ruoxue exhibited combat skills that rivaled those of Wu Shuang and Yi Feng, showcasing formidable fighting prowess. However, her weapons inflicted damage that paled in comparison to Wu Shuang's blade. Soon, Qin Ruoxue found herself in a precarious situation, her stamina dwindling after a prolonged engagement. In a moment of miscalculation, a worm suddenly emerged from the sand, its gaping maw lunging towards her calf. With astonishing reflexes, Qin Ruoxue fired a shot at the creature's head, then deftly retreated. She swiftly retrieved the cylindrical object from her back, which measured approximately 10 centimeters in diameter and about a meter in length, its surface a deep black. One end of the cylinder was sealed while the other featured a cap. With a decisive motion, she removed the cap, and a cascade of black grenades tumbled forth, plummeting into the worm's open maw, which it eagerly swallowed. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions erupted, obliterating the worm into fragments, the shockwave propelling Qin Ruoxue backward. Yet, the battle concluded swiftly, and she returned to the platform unscathed. Immediately, she inspected her backpack, finding that the grenades within the cylindrical container remained intact. Evidently, in this illusory duel, consumables could be used without any true depletion. Qin Ruoxue, please select your reward. The second-tier rewards consisted of a skill card, gift to the fertility goddess, and a thunderstone. The descriptions of these items were as follows. Gift of the fertility goddess, a C-grade blessing skill that bestows a target with a special effect. Thunderstone, a stone capable of providing immense energy, albeit its inherent instability renders it difficult to harness. Without hesitation, Qin Ruoxue opted for the skill. However, upon receiving the skill card and scrutinizing its effects, her expression soured. So, it is the blessing of the evil god? She muttered words inaudible to others. Meanwhile, the black butterfly announced the first-place winner in a routine manner, though the outcome was already known. First place, Su Yunzhou. Train level, Tier 3. Personal level, Level 4. Su Yunzhou rose effortlessly from his seat. I choose Tier 2. With a snap of her fingers, the black butterfly summoned Su Yunzhou into a colossal octagonal cage. Beneath the stage, an endless sea of unseen faces fills the audience, their voices seemingly rising in a fervent chorus, their bodies swaying in animated excitement. Yet for Su Yunzhou, the figure on stage, their expressions remain obscured. Opposite him stands a red-haired maiden, shackled with both ankle and wrist restraints. Astonishingly, a muzzle-like device has been affixed to her mouth, rendering her speechless. Unlike before, a screen within the octagonal cage now displays her name and other pertinent details. Not only does Su Yunzhou glimpse this information, but so too do the spectators observing the battle through the screen. Name, Nun codename, Frenzied Rose Race, Modified Being, Blood Corpse, Attributes. The Frenzied Rose perpetually craves the blood and flesh of living beings. Consuming such flesh enhances her combat prowess, yet drives her to madness. Feeding. Daily sustenance of 50 kilograms of fresh animal blood and flesh, be it chicken, duck, fish, pork, beef, or lamb, is essential to prevent her from succumbing to hunger, while also averting her descent into extreme insanity. In the next moment, A countdown timer appears on the screen, ticking down for 3 minutes. 259. Bound at her limbs and mouth, the frenzied Rose can only launch physical attacks against Su Yunzhou. Such reckless charges are easily evaded by him. After all, her restraints render her movements clumsy and ineffective. As previously mentioned, Su Yunzhou embodies a steady approach. Should he conceal his true strength, he possesses an 80% chance of vanquishing his adversary. If he were to unleash his full power, his odds of victory soar to 95%. Thus, he would not hesitate to abandon any thoughts of withholding his trump card. The notion of feigning weakness pales in comparison to that additional 15% probability of success. He reflects on the potential cost of concealing his abilities, fearing the loss of the thunderous stone to his own folly would be a grave miscalculation. With this in mind, Su Yunzhou immediately unleashes his utmost combat prowess. He decisively presses a button on his belt. In an instant, a towering silhouette enveloped in a silvery light materializes behind him. This apparition, a 3-meter-tall warrior clad in cloud-patterned silver armor, wields a spear entwined with silver threads, its tip gleaming with icy radiance, suspended by a flickering silver-red soul fire. Within Su Yunzhou's perception, it feels as though this warrior has sprouted organically from his own being. If controlling a paper figure is akin to multitasking, then commanding this spectral warrior is a harmonious symphony of limbs in concert. To put it simply, Su Yunzhou now fights with 4 arms. Simultaneously, the spirit of Zhao Yun manifests a silver spear in its grasp. Zhao Yun, positioned behind Su Yunzhou, unleashes a flurry of spear strikes, relentlessly suppressing the frenzied Rose. With each thrust, he pierces her flesh, leaving behind gaping wounds that heal almost instantaneously. However, the young girl found herself unable to approach Su Yunzhou once more to launch an assault. Su Yunzhou, armed with a finely crafted pistol in his left hand and a perfectly designed crossbow in his right, unleashed a barrage of gunfire upon her. Countless bullets struck her form, yet she emitted neither a cry of pain nor faltered in her advance. Though the projectiles perforated her flesh, creating gaping wounds, they healed instantaneously, as if the bullets were entirely engulfed by her own flesh. Such a terrifying regenerative ability rendered modern and ancient weaponry alike ineffective. Nevertheless, he discerned an important detail. She was indeed injured. The healing in certain areas was noticeably sluggish. She did not possess limitless regeneration. Su Yunzhou had encountered someone with such formidable healing capabilities before, blood ancestor Nawir. Once again, he raised his crossbow, aiming a purifying magical arrow at her head. To his astonishment, the seemingly frenzied girl revealed a flicker of fear in her crimson eyes and instinctively dodged to the side. Nonetheless, the magical arrow still detonated upon impact with her head. Effect 2. Purifying magical arrow. Active effect, consuming 10 points of spiritual energy, automatically loading a magical arrow, ensuring your next shot within 100 meters achieves a perfect headshot on your designated target, inflicting terrifying damage to creatures such as vampires. It appears this entity belongs to the realm of Western monstrosities and cannot evade a headshot. Yet in the next moment, the girl's body began to radiate a blinding red light. Su Yunzhou quickly realized that she was likely preparing for self-detonation. Recalling the earlier incident involving Yi Feng, he decisively threw out a pokeball. Meow. Hakimi assumed the Spinosaurus form. In an instant, the ebony feline arched its back, its size expanding exponentially. Meow. Its cry resonated like a thunderous roar, heavy and foreboding, instilling a sense of dread. The crimson glow intensified, enveloping the entire octagonal cage. Boom! Energy surged forth. Su Yunzhou sheltered behind the enlarged ebony cat, while the Zhao Yun martial spirit behind him provided further protection. Ebony Cat Life Force 1. Ebony Cat Life Force 1. Zhao Yun martial spirit has shattered, requiring 30 minutes for resummoning. After a brief interval, the red light gradually diminished. Su Yunzhou found himself back on the selection platform, cradling the pitch-black cat in his arms, his gaze meeting the faceless, dark visage of the black butterfly. Was this truly a second-tier enemy? It seemed to be of an entirely different caliber than the previous second-tier adversaries. Or perhaps, following that 3-minute countdown, her strength would diminish? Su Yunzhou promptly directed his inquiries toward the black butterfly, while the others regarded him with expressions of uncertainty and intrigue. There is no other explanation, Su Yunzhou is undeniably formidable. The power he demonstrates seems to transcend the very realm of competition. This is, of course, entirely justified, for he possesses several pieces of perfect-grade equipment. In the first 10 stations, the theoretical probability of acquiring such exquisite gear is a mere 1 in 100,000. This probability hinges on the necessity of drawing from a station with a resource richness classified as excellent, coupled with an extraordinary stroke of luck to discover a concealed green treasure chest at that station. Subsequently, within that chest, there is a 1 in 1 chance of unveiling perfect-grade equipment. Remarkably, Su Yunzhou boasts a total of 3 such pieces. Moreover, he has a perfect-grade pet, the Xian cat, and his physical training has elevated his physique to an impressive score of 20, the highest in this realm. In contrast, the second place, Wu Shuang, barely reaches a physique of 15. Upon hearing Su Yunzhou's inquiry, Black Butterfly fell into a prolonged silence. Eventually, he conceded, yes, this adversary is not of the second tier. Once the countdown concludes, the shackles binding her will shatter, and her strength will only magnify. If one attempts to wear her down gradually, her healing abilities will sustain her until she unleashes her full power. If one maintains relentless assault, the damage she incurs in a short span will detonate explosively. Should you be slain by this self-detonation, your qualification for selection will still be forfeited. For even if the frenzied rose is reduced to mere fragments, she can endure for a brief period. In theory, it is impossible for you to defeat this foe under any circumstances. Upon the utterance of these words, the gazes of those present grew increasingly peculiar. Their eyes fixed on Su Yunzhou with a blend of admiration, jealousy, envy, animosity, and appreciation. Yet, Su Yunzhou remained unperturbed, his expression as calm as ever. So, you imply that I am the target? Black Butterfly, unhurried, continued. Certainly not. This was merely a minor oversight. Before he could finish, a slender thread ensnared his body, lifting him swiftly into the air, vanishing from the sight of the onlookers. Abruptly, a new figure emerged on the platform. This individual, at least in appearance, could still be deemed human, clad in a sharply tailored suit, with an unremarkable visage, exuding an air of graceful gentility. Greetings, you may refer to me as the observer. The crowd regarded him with a mix of suspicion and uncertainty, utterly unprepared for the unfolding events. Sakamoto Kyoto was the first to speak. Observer, what is your identity? And where has Black Butterfly gone? Has he perished? Chapter 35. The fate card of Yi Feng. The observer smiled as he addressed them. I shall not respond to your inquiries. I am here solely to rectify the recent error. He turned his gaze towards Su Yunzhou, this esteemed train conductor. The incident that just transpired was indeed an unforeseen occurrence. And Black Butterfly harbored no intention of targeting you. I have now imposed penalties for his mistakes, and I will also provide compensation to you regarding this matter. As he spoke, 3 items materialized before him. In addition to the original Thunderstone, I have gathered 2 other items of equal rank as compensation. The 3 items fell into Su Yunzhou's hands, yet he did not examine them immediately. Instead, he began to inquire. I have several questions that I originally intended to pose to the Black Butterfly, but now I find the observer's expression somewhat weary. All right, go ahead and ask. I can wait another 10 minutes, but make it quick. Su Yunzhou did not pose a question, but rather offered a conjecture. Every 10 stations, the difficulty increases by 1 level. And the stations ending in 5 and 0 are special stations, correct? The observer replied at a rapid pace, ensuring that all present could hear. Indeed, the 5 station is a selection station, while the 0 station is a trading station. In principle, there is no danger at these special stations. Su Yunzhou's mind swiftly processed the response, while he continued to inquire. Does the first level correspond to ordinary, the second to exquisite? Thus, does the 5th correspond to legendary, and what about the 6th? Naturally, that would be divine level, commonly referred to as ascension or entering the void. What do these terms, divine level, ascension, entering the void, derive from? Explaining that clearly would take far more than 10 minutes. So I can only offer you a succinct understanding. Those who attain divinity ascend to higher realms. Entering the void transcends all realms. Is there a 7th level? Or will the train halt after 60 stations? Yes, there is a 7th level, but I doubt you will survive to see it. Considering you are merely the first batch, the observer continued. Originally, I thought you had no chance of entering the void, but it seems there is a sliver of possibility. Albeit you are the vanguard, a death squad, are you not? At this moment, Su Yunju offered a rather crude metaphor. Are we the first batch of sperm attacking the egg? Our purpose is merely to pave the way for those that follow. To his surprise, the observer appeared momentarily dazed by this comparison. Indeed, you are quite right. However, Qin Ruoxue cast a more exasperated glance at Su Yunju. To come up with such a metaphor, surely you must have a wise figure at home? No. It seems that nothing could help. Qin Ruoxue silently lamented. Yet the others present listened intently to the dialogue between Su Yunju and the observer. Clearly, it contained immensely significant information, except for one person, Wu Shuang. She still wore a naive expression, oblivious to the unfolding events, occasionally glancing down at her sword before returning to her stupor. On the other side, Su Yunju pressed on with his inquiries, and the observer provided answers to most questions, though some responses were ambiguous and vague. Soon, the 10 minutes concluded. Su Yunju nodded. All right, I have finished my questions. The observer smiled and nodded in reply. At that moment, a woman in her 30s, exuding the aura of a strong female leader and ranked 7th, spoke up. We still have questions. Suddenly, in the next instant, her neck swelled, and her entire body erupted in a violent explosion of blood and flesh. The two individuals nearest to her were taken aback, their faces filled with terror. After effortlessly causing a person to meet a gruesome demise, the onlookers remained unfazed, as if they had merely crushed an ant. It wasn't until the observer vanished into the depths of the starry sky that the others dared to speak. This scene indeed left them all astonished. The imposing woman had just perished? Yi Feng revealed a mocking smile. Blind and self-righteous fools, merely supporting roles. He then addressed the group in a leaderly tone. The selection has concluded. Everyone should return to the station. However, no one paid him any heed. All eyes turned towards Su Yunzhou. Yet, Su Yunzhou was lost in thought, preoccupied with the observer's response and the 3 items he had acquired, oblivious to the others as he made his way back to the train. Only after that did the crowd quietly disperse. Yi Feng was the last to return, his eyes bloodshot and his face contorted with rage. He had been suppressing his anger to maintain the image of a cheerful protagonist, wearing a smile all the while. But now, he could no longer contain himself. Su Yunzhou, Su Yunzhou. Everyone only knew of Su Yunzhou. Why did he win while I lost? I was supposed to be the protagonist. Why was everyone surrounding him alone? This is unfair. I must. He lowered his head and returned to his train, then took out the fate card. Fate card. Procreation. Type. Unique concept quality. Superior. Effect 1. Destiny guidance. Quality will advance with a holder's level, increasing by 1 level for every 10 levels gained. Effect 2. Infinite vitality. Can only be activated when stamina is at maximum. Upon activation, for a period, the holder will possess 10 times their own energy and vitality, but after the duration ends, they will consume 80 stamina points. Duration. Level 1 minute. Effect 3. Unknown. Unlocks upon advancing to the next quality. Description. The holder of the procreator will possess boundless energy and reproductive capabilities. In truth, this fate card was the ultimate reward Yi Feng received at the 4th station. He had saved a poor young girl there, thinking he would finally experience a protagonist storyline, only to discover she was a goblin in disguise. In a fit of rage, he nearly met a gruesome end at the hands of a goblin horde. Just when his life hung in the balance, a fate card suddenly appeared before him. Each destiny card binds to its host, requiring the completion of specific tasks, which are often not overly demanding, yet exceedingly absurd and nonsensical. For instance, when Yi Feng acquired his destiny card, he was instructed to loudly proclaim mother, thereby automatically binding the card for reproduction. He was warned to complete the binding within 24 hours, lest the card vanish. In a moment of desperation, as he was nearly thrown into a vat of oil, he shouted, "Mother!" Instantly, an astonishing vitality and energy surged through him, rendering him impervious to the goblin's attacks. Like a resilient insect, he rose again and again to confront the horde. Ultimately, he managed to endure until a fully armored human arrived to rescue him. This armored figure swiftly dispatched the goblins with a single move, then departed quietly, concealing both his prowess and identity. Chapter 36. Level 4 Train, a new entry. The vile Su Yunju. I had no intention of resorting to such extremes, but you have forced my hand. With this thought, Yifeng resolved firmly and tore apart the destiny card for reproduction. In the next moment, the card dissipated into white light, and in his hand appeared a deathmatch voucher. Type, consumable quality, perfect effect. Upon accurately knowing a target's appearance and name, if they're within the same area as you may designate them as your challenger. You and they will be transported to a random station among the next 3, where you will face off in opposing factions. Furthermore, the user of the deathmatch voucher will gain a significant advantage in the duel. Description: in life, who can claim to have no enemies or rivals? Draw your blade and strike true. Youth does not wait for the faint-hearted. Ha ha! With this, I shall surely defeat Su Yunju. As the train resumed its journey, the crowd gradually departed from the audition platform. The train has commenced its travel, heading towards the 6th station. Tonight, trains traveling below 40 kilometers per hour may encounter danger. Please exercise caution. For the ensuing period, temperatures will remain at 810 degrees. Please keep warm. Duration: 48 hours. Upon reading these messages, Su Yunju glanced at the chat room, which had indeed erupted into chaos. Discussions regarding the auditions and tonight's dangers cluttered a single channel. A tumult of voices. Please, I implore you, can someone sell me a bit of level 1 resources? Must we adhere to Sakamoto Kyoto's exorbitant prices? The auditions are exhilarating. I can easily defeat a minor lackey and acquire fine-grade equipment. What a delightful prospect. Once I gather enough blankets, stoves, and other items, I can exchange them for level 1 resources. Alas, level 1 wheels can only provide a speed of 10 kilometers per hour. An upgrade is imperative. How splendid it would be to install 2 pairs of level 1 wheels. It would be wise for everyone to upgrade their trains to level 2 as soon as possible. If one were to randomly obtain a favorable entry, survival would be the least of our concerns. In comparison to its initial state, the social atmosphere within the chat room has significantly improved. The reason, of course, lies in the drastic reduction of participants to fewer than 3,000. Those who remain are fully committed to their survival, eschewing petty disputes that serve no purpose in the struggle. After scanning the chat room and finding little valuable information, Su Yunju turned his attention to the 3 items in his possession. It is worth mentioning that following the selection event, he had acquired a modest sum of bronze points, now totaling 2. The 3 items he held were as follows: Thunderstone, type, consumable quality, perfect effect, difficult to utilize, is only employed under specific circumstances to provide energy. Description: a stone imbued with the power of thunder. Skill: frenzied rose summoning technique. Type: skill book skill level. D. Skill description: summons the bound frenzied rose to fight on your behalf. Under certain conditions, the frenzied rose may break free from its shackles, transforming into an indiscriminate force of formidable combat prowess. Duration: 10 minutes, cooldown, 3 hours. Description: this humanoid weapon, classified as a blood corpse, possesses an insatiable thirst for flesh. Only under the constraints of its restraints can it maintain a semblance of rationality. Black butterfly mask. Type: armor, quality, perfect defense, high effect 1. Capable of withstanding any attack directed at the frontal face, if the attack's intensity exceeds the armor's defense. The damage is negated, but the equipment will be damaged. Effect 2. When one's information is being scrutinized, this equipment provides misleading yet plausible information to the observer. This function can be toggled on or off. Description: mask-type equipment can choose to display or conceal itself. In its concealed state, the mask's collision volume is non-existent, yet it retains its effects. Observing the 2 additional pieces of equipment, Su Yunju smirked, recognizing the resourcefulness at play, one derived from the frenzied rose he had slain, and the other from the black butterfly. This uncanny ability to conjure items suggests either he is the mastermind behind the train survival game or a prominent figure within the command. Regardless, despite revealing his full strength this time, the rewards were substantial. With this thought, Su Yunju prepared to upgrade his train. Level 4 train, here I come. Resources are sufficiently prepared. The train is about to upgrade. Train upgrade successful. Train level 4, train speed 80 kilometers per hour, train durability 400. 400 upgrade requirements: 80 level 4 wood, 80 level 4 metal, 10 basic components. Basic resource requirements reduced by 90. 100 gold, 10 diamonds, 1 any defense module, 1 any attack module, 1 any acceleration module, 1 advanced core. Upon seeing these upgrade requirements, Su Yunzhou realized that he would not be able to elevate his train to level 5 in the near future. Not to mention the subsequent modules and the advanced core. He had yet to encounter a single diamond. No rush. Let us first examine the new options. Train upgrade. Please select an option. Level 4 random probability. 20 black iron, 35 bronze, 35 silver, 9 gold, 1 prism. 3 options materialized before Su Yunzhou. Big stomach, bronze. Weight increases to 444 gene, but your bodily organs will also enhance to support this weight. Understand your enemy, gold. You can freely view a portion of information about trains of the same level within this area. Heavenly Energy Crystal, gold. You will receive 1 energy crystal daily at midnight. This time, luck was not on his side, as he did not randomly acquire the prism option. However, obtaining 2 golden options was still commendable. Firstly, the big stomach was certainly not a viable choice, and among the remaining 2 golden options, the second held no significance for him. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, pondering. Moreover, I only absorb 1 energy crystal every 10 hours, considering meals and sleep. Obtaining even 1 in a day is quite favorable. Therefore, if I secure the Heavenly Energy Crystal, I can essentially ensure my self-sufficiency in energy crystals. With that thought, Su Yunzhou decisively chose Heavenly Energy Crystal, gold. Once the clock struck midnight, he would receive an energy crystal. How delightful. Although the Xian cat had lost 2 lives, it was merely in an illusion. In reality, the Xian cat still possessed 9 lives. Nevertheless, reflecting on the Xian cat as performance, Su Yunzhou rewarded it with a can of meat mixed with cat food. Hakimi, well done. For your valor in battle, you deserve this reward. Meow. Hakimi paid no heed to Su Yunzhou's rambling. Upon sighting the meat can, it pounced eagerly, relishing the feast. Chapter 37. The 6th Station. The sacrificial game. After some contemplation, Su Yunzhou prepared to allocate points to both Black Butterfly Mask and Frenzied Rose Summoning Technique. Conveniently, he possessed 2 bronze points. Skill: Frenzied Rose Summoning Technique 1 type. Skill book: skill level. C-class. Skill description: summons the bound Frenzied Rose to fight on your behalf. Under certain specific conditions, the Frenzied Rose may break free from its shackles, becoming an uncontrollable force of immense combat power. Duration: 10 minutes. Cooldown: 3 hours. Each summoning randomly alters the favorability, and upon reaching a favorability of 100, the Frenzied Rose can transform into a permanent entity, fully restoring its sanity. Note: what force can triumph over the instincts of living beings? It is love. Su Yunzhou gazed vacantly. I shall refrain from commenting on this heavily flawed note. What does this favorability system signify? Is this akin to playing a Gal game? That being said, this skill must be acquired nonetheless. Subsequently, he sought out the train to inquire further about the summoning skills. Upon learning that summoned entities could be dismissed at will, he decisively chose to summon the Frenzied Rose once more. In no time, the girl, shackled in leg and handcuffs, reappeared before Su Yunzhou. However, this time she seemed much quieter and more docile, devoid of any frenzied demeanor, and she was not wearing a gag. Master, master, she called out. Su Yunzhou promptly replied, there are no slaves since the establishment of the nation. Do not address me in that manner. Call me boss instead. Huh? The Frenzied Rose tilted her head adorably, gazing at Su Yunzhou with innocence. Do you not understand the meaning of boss? Very well, you may call me Big Brother. Understood, Big Brother. This time, the Frenzied Rose comprehended his words. Do you have a name? Codenamed Frenzied Rose. Serial number: Ultimate Weapon 002. Frenzied Rose is rather lengthy. From now on, you shall be called Rose. After confirming her name, Su Yunzhou commanded, Rose, obey. Indeed, Rose straightened her posture, lifted her chin, and focused her gaze intently. He then proceeded to explain to her the importance of prioritizing the protection of her big brother's life. He had previously conveyed this to Hakimi, but the latter had dozed off halfway through. Clearly, Hakimi had failed the political assessment, and Su Yunzhou would need to think carefully before promoting that feline again. In contrast, Rose's response was much more favorable. She stood attentively throughout his instruction and then responded loudly, I understand. Excellent. Su Yunzhou nodded in satisfaction and attempted to dismiss the summoning in advance. Rose promptly vanished from sight in a flash. The summoning technique proved quite effective. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, continuing to enhance his next piece of equipment. Black Butterfly Mask type, armor quality, Perfect defense. Very high effect 1. Minor effect 2. Minor this time. However, Su Yunzhou felt disappointment. The Black Butterfly Mask 1 did not undergo a qualitative transformation. It merely upgraded its defense from high to very high. Su Yunzhou could not fathom the significance of the difference between the two. Placing the mask on his face and choosing to conceal it, he resumed his training. The remainder of the day was spent in monotonous tedium. Level 4 experience points, 3,840. Bronze points, 6. Energy crystals, 8. After consuming 1 energy crystal, he acquired a new one from the fallen energy crystal. Thus, the number of energy crystals remained unchanged. As for his level, he did not ascend to level 5 before reaching the 6th station. The reason was quite simple. He had overslept. This was rather normal, considering there was no alarm clock. And when he woke up was merely a matter of chance. At last, the 6th station had arrived. The train will arrive in 10 minutes. All train conductors, please prepare. Next station, sacrificial card game, difficulty, level 1 type. 6 players, danger level, none, wealth level. Excellent special note. You fear nothing more than card games. Su Yunzhou frowned. The wealth level was excellent, yet the danger level was none? What did it mean that he feared nothing more than card games? And what sacrifices were to be made in this sacrificial card game? Sacrificing one's parents for the sake of luck? These questions would gradually find their answers as Su Yunzhou disembarked from the station. Once the train came to a halt, Su Yunzhou found himself standing before the entrance of a building. He had no other choice but to enter. Upon stepping inside, he realized that the structure was polygonal, adorned with a dozen grand doors. At that moment, 4 individuals descended from 4 other trains. Some were familiar faces, while others were strangers to Su Yunzhou. The only familiar individual was the delicate-featured, slender figure of Sakamoto Kyoto. The other 3 were a young woman with a round face, small eyes, and a pointed chin, whose looks were unremarkable, yet her gaze was already scrutinizing those present. A being with green skin, clearly no longer human, who, despite retaining a humanoid shape, was evidently a user of the corrupted heart. And lastly, a somewhat bashful young man, who kept his head lowered, occasionally glancing around without daring to meet Su Yunzhou's eyes. Appearing rather shy, as the 5 individuals observed one another, a figure gradually emerged at the center of the hall. Clad in a light yellow robe, he bore the hallmarks of a typical Western male. High nose, deep-set eyes, standing over 6 feet tall, exuding an air of grace and elegance. Welcome, everyone, to the sacrificial card game. You may refer to me as the Card Emperor. If any of you wish to withdraw from this sacrificial card game, simply relinquish any item of excellent quality or higher, and you may leave. After a brief silence of several seconds, with no one speaking, he continued, well then, it appears that everyone is participating. It was a simple truth. Those who had made it to the 6th station were unlikely to abandon their exploration, especially not for the sake of sacrificing an excellent item. Nevertheless, someone inquired first, may we know the rules of the sacrificial card game? If one were to face defeat, what will be the consequences? The rules shall be elucidated upon your entry into the game. As for the penalties of failure, you shall randomly lose 3 items of superior quality from your possession. Upon hearing this declaration, 2 individuals began to waver in their resolve. However, the card lord continued, stating that should victory be attained, a green treasure chest would be guaranteed as a reward. At this revelation, no one dared to withdraw. The allure of the green treasure chest was simply irresistible. Each of these 5 individuals had previously acquired white treasure chests and understood the substantial enhancement they provided. The potential of a green treasure chest was beyond their wildest imagination. As for Su Yunzhou, he had no intention of retreating from the onset. He felt no apprehension on the platform and was eager to linger a while longer to see what treasures he might acquire. Chapter 38. The Sacrificial Game. Very well. Since no one wishes to withdraw, let the game commence. Soon, a round table materialized at the center of the 5 participants. As they took their seats, a system notification echoed in the air. You have chosen to join the sacrificial game. From this moment forth, any attempt to abandon the game will result in an immediate deduction of 3 random items of superior quality from your inventory. With this notification, even if the 5 wished to retract their decision, it was no longer feasible. Shortly thereafter, the card lord assumed the role of the arbiter. Taking his seat at the head of the table, he distributed a code card to everyone, stating, I do not wish for any grievances from this game to spill into the outside world. Henceforth, you shall address each other by your surnames. Sakamoto Kyoto received a card marked with his surname. He was momentarily at a loss for words, but chose to remain silent. The round-faced woman was designated as Yang, the zombie man as Su, the shy youth as Chun. While Su Yunzhou held the card bearing his surname, his demeanor composed. In the next instant, the round-faced woman turned to him. Are you Su Yunzhou? Su Yunzhou cast her a sidelong glance and nodded lightly. He could not conceal his identity, especially since Sakamoto Kyoto was not his ally. The round-faced woman then shouted, You scoundrel! I clearly sent you my photo. Why won't you share food with me? Taking advantage of me without providing sustenance. You are a scoundrel, a disgrace, a beast. Upon hearing this, Su Yunzhou furrowed his brow slightly. He typically disregarded others' opinions of him, yet being openly insulted ignited a flicker of irritation within him. I never asked you to send a photo, nor did I promise you food. Moreover, how was I know what photo you sent? I thought you were flaunting your prowess in hunting a pig. At this remark, the remaining three struggled to suppress their laughter. The round-faced woman fumed and slapped the nearest individual, whose laughter had been the loudest and most grating. Consequently, she soon realized why his laughter had been so piercing. He was none other than the aforementioned zombie man. The round-faced woman gazed at her hands, which were covered in a revolting green liquid, and was immediately seized by terror, emitting a shriek akin to a slaughtered pig. In the next instant, a card fluttered before her, instantly silencing her. Her eyes widened in horror, devoid of focus, as she trembled uncontrollably. Moments later, the card returned to the hand of the card monarch, and the woman fell utterly silent, no longer daring to utter a sound. I have stated that we shall first complete the game. Thereafter, you may pursue whatever you desire, I declared. At this juncture, she became exceedingly obsequious, her face radiating eagerness as she turned to the card monarch, exclaiming, Yes, yes, I understand. The card monarch cast a glance at her, a cold smile gracing his lips, before elucidating the rules. The rules are as follows. There are 4 distinct identities: God, believer, thief, and blasphemer. If the God perishes, the blasphemer triumphs. However, if the thief or blasphemer is slain, the God and believer emerge victorious. The thief must eliminate the God when only they and the God remain in play to claim victory. Upon hearing this, Su Yunzhou could not help but internally scoff. This is a blatant rip-off of Three Kingdoms Kill, merely with different names. The card monarch continued. The game will consist of only 1 round, and the victor shall receive a green treasure chest, while the vanquished shall receive nothing. Moreover, the game will last a maximum of 2 hours. If no victor emerges within that time, all players shall be deemed losers. Now let us draw our identities, as 5 cards fell into the hands of 5 different players. Su Yunzhou picked up his own. Thief what? An infiltrator right from the start? At that moment, the card monarch added, I nearly forgot to mention, because the thief's path to victory is particularly challenging, their reward for winning is 2 green treasure chests. A flicker of joy ignited within Su Yunzhou, yet his expression remained composed. I am the God. Chun, the shy boy, meekly raised his hand and announced. Subsequently, the card monarch distributed blood cards. The God received 5 drops, while the others received 4. This revelation left all 5 players bewildered. They called it a game. If there are only identity cards and blood cards, what are hand cards? How can they play without cards? But soon, clarity dawned upon them. Before each player, an object resembling a temperature gun materialized. Let me instruct you on how to use this device, the card monarch stated, picking up the temperature gun and scanning his left hand. In an uncanny display, his left hand vanished without a trace of blood flowing from the wrist. Yet the vessels and bones were starkly visible, a truly bizarre sight. Shortly thereafter, the other end of the gun ejected a card. Card monarch's left hand, spell card, effect, gain 1 hand card from each of the other players. The card monarch paid no heed to the astonished expressions of the other 5 players, continuing in a matter-of-fact tone. Each player has 3 opportunities to play cards each round. You may choose to forfeit, but I advise you to play your cards. This sacrificial gun possesses the ability to transform anything of yours into cards. However, it is crucial to note that worthless items will only yield worthless cards. Only powerful belongings can be transmuted into formidable cards. Now, let the game commence, beginning with the deity and proceeding counterclockwise to play cards. At this moment, the bashful boy appeared dazed, utterly unable to comprehend the situation. Yet, Sakamoto Kyoto promptly advised, play a card, sacrifice something useless to convert it into a card, and do not waste the opportunity to play. Upon hearing this, Chin suddenly understood and immediately produced a rusty knife to sacrifice. Knife attack, spell card. Effect. Launch an attack against the players on either side, with a 30 chance of inflicting 1 point of damage. Then, Chin became even more bewildered. All my belongings are on the train. The card emperor swiftly replied, you can return to the train at any time. It is of no consequence, and you may even bring this sacrificial gun along. With this declaration, the 4 of them rose, preparing to return to the train, now fully aware of the situation. To win this sacrificial game, they must offer up some items. If they lose, 3 randomly selected fine items will vanish. However, if they succeed, they will be rewarded with a green treasure chest. The card emperor, with curiosity, gazed at Su Yunzhou. Do you not need to return and prepare? Su Yunzhou shook his head. I am in the 5th position, and there is no time constraint for this sacrificial phase. I can wait until they play their cards before sacrificing specific items to counter. The card emperor nodded with a smile, a very astute deduction. Although the 5th position is the most perilous, it also holds the greatest advantage for a counter strategy. My conjecture extends beyond this. I also know that the sacrificed items will not disappear, but merely become part of your possessions. Chapter 39, Card Imprinting. Upon this revelation, Su Yunzhou noticed a look of astonishment on the card emperor's face. He chuckled and continued. I had assumed that those who can call themselves emperors would be akin to observers, but it seems there are those like you who are instead bound by the rules. The card emperor's expression darkened. Insect, do you think I could be intimidated by your few words? To slay you, Su Yunzhou waved his hand dismissively. There is no need for bravado. I can discern that your authority is comparable to that of the black butterfly, a judge of sorts. He went on, had an observer been present, that audacious woman would have perished long ago, and a mere warning would not suffice. Moreover, the most significant point is your excessive fixation on the act of sacrifice. You're not merely playing a game with us, but genuinely desire our offerings. I suspect you possess some means to revert the items we sacrifice back into their original form once they have been transformed into cards, although others may not have noticed. I have observed that after your left hand was restored, the card emperor's left hand has not reappeared. As Su Yunzhou spoke, the expression of the card emperor finally transformed into one of tranquility. He regarded his counterpart with a frigid gaze, stating, indeed, your deductions are entirely accurate. Though I am referred to as the card emperor, I am confined within this realm where the true essence of the cards can be manifested. As for your speculation regarding my ability to revert the cards to their original forms, you are correct as well. The card emperor locked eyes with Su Yunzhou, inquiring, so, what exactly are your intentions? At that moment, however, Su Yunzhou appeared to gaze vacantly, revealing a peculiar smile. Card emperor, shall we engage in a transaction? 10 minutes later, the other 4 returned, naturally unwilling to depart hastily. The system prompt had made it abundantly clear. Abandoning the game would result in an immediate loss. In the initial round, the shy youth held 3 cards, Sakamoto Kyoto possessed 5, the round-faced girl had 4, and the zombie man also held 4. Only Su Yunzhou remained with none. The shy youth hesitated momentarily before playing a card labeled Knife Attack. However, the attack was deemed unsuccessful, failing to inflict any damage. Subsequently, he played a card titled Shield. Effect: accumulate 1 point of shield. He concluded his turn, passing it to Sakamoto Kyoto. The cards he played were as follows: Sacrificial Spike. Lose 1 health point to inflict damage on a specified target. Common Bandage. Restore 2 health points. Bench Equipment Card. Granting a 5 chance that the character does not lose health when taking damage. To his astonishment, Sakamoto's attack target was the shy youth, leaving the latter dumbfounded. You were the one who prompted me to play. Why target me? Sakamoto Kyoto replied with a sly smile. I did encourage you to play, but I'm not a believer. The round-faced girl chuckled derisively, her face a mask of mockery. Indeed, not a single man speaks the truth. It was then her turn to play, but unexpectedly, the cards she drew were all rather lackluster. Used Sanitary Pad. Equipment Card. When you lose 1 health point, gain an additional opportunity to play a card. Scrap Handgun Equipment Card. Removes distance limitations on your attack cards. Knife Attack. Insignificant. Once again, her target was the shy youth. Consequently, he endured another attack, his health plummeting to 4 points, leaving him utterly panicked. Yet, there was someone even more distressed. Sakamoto Kyoto, his eyes wide with disbelief, stammered. You truly cannot play cards, can you? Who says that? I can play better than you. The round-faced girl retorted immediately. Sakamoto Kyoto fell into utter despair. However, he was not one to easily concede. Moreover, this round was not devoid of opportunities. After all, with the identity of a thief, he still had a chance. Even without a believer. Soon, it was the zombie man's turn, and to everyone's surprise, he played 3 cards that were exceptionally advantageous in this context. Blade of Weeping Blood inflicts a modicum of damage, subsequently restoring a measure of vitality. Pistol Attack, 2. With a probability of 90, it inflicts harm upon a single character. It directly reduces the health of the round-faced woman by 2 points, while the attacker finds himself at 6 points of health. Indeed, in this card game, there exists no cap on health. The zombie man grinned sinisterly, his smile appearing particularly grotesque against his green skin. In this round, I was resolute. I promptly sacrificed an exceptionally rare, ordinary weapon, determined to secure the green treasure chest. Upon hearing this declaration, the other 3 were taken aback. Indeed, they were loath to part with even ordinary quality items. Up to this point, their sacrifices had all been items of faded quality. Only Sakamoto Kyoto's bandages could be considered an ordinary item, yet it remained merely a consumable. This individual, however, had sacrificed a weapon. Yet, with the thought of potentially losing 3 randomly selected superior items upon losing the match, trepidation gripped their hearts. It dawned on them that if they continued to be stingy, they would only suffer greater losses. It must be said, their perception of the situation was decidedly less astute than that of a zombie. Meanwhile, Su Yunzhou remained nonchalantly seated. Once the zombie man had played his cards, the gaze of the other 4, including the card emperor, fell upon him. Su Yunzhou reclined back, his tone laced with exasperation. Alas, how is it that a thief can possibly win? This is exceedingly challenging. Must I truly sacrifice a superior item? Yet if I refrain, losing this game would mean losing 3 superior items at random. What if my most useful item is taken? Wouldn't that be his vivid portrayal sent cold sweat cascading down the brows of the other 4? At that moment, the card emperor spoke gravely. I will now grant you all an additional 30 minutes. You may return to the train and select cards for sacrifice. Remember, this is your final opportunity. After this, you will not be able to return to the train or make any further sacrifices. Upon hearing this, they exchanged glances and, subsequently, fell into a contemplative silence as they made their way back to the train. This time, Su Yunzhou was no exception. Upon returning to the carriage, he promptly located the spiritual energy printer and input his energy to print the image from his mind. Left hand of the card emperor, this card materialized directly in Su Yunzhou's hand. He then continued to expend spiritual energy, printing out 10 cards in one go. Hif. In truth, once the rules of the sacrificial game were clarified, Su Yunzhou immediately thought of his spiritual energy printer. However, he was uncertain whether this constituted cheating. Thus, he chose to collude with the card emperor, who served as the judge. As for the specific consequences of such actions, one may refer to the implications of Samida. In a scenario where both the referee and the contestant are clad in the same trousers, what recourse remains for the other competitors? Chapter 40. The Zero-Style Arcane Crusher. After a brief interlude of half an hour, 5 distinguished players re-entered the arena, their faces adorned with varying degrees of sorrow. Next, it was Su Yunzhou's turn to take the stage. The crowd turned their astonished gazes upon him, utterly taken aback. Wait, how did you acquire that hand of cards? Did you sacrifice everything aboard the train? Puffed. This fellow must have merely sacrificed a heap of worthless items to dazzle us. There's no need to pay him any heed. Furthermore, each player is permitted only 3 rounds to play. What use are all those cards? He can still only play 3. Then, Su Yunzhou played a card titled The Left Hand of the Card Emperor. Upon seeing this card, everyone instinctively glanced towards the card emperor, who maintained a serene expression. What are you staring at? Continue playing, he urged. The round-faced woman immediately erupted in fury. How is it possible for him to possess that card? Isn't that yours? Have you been cheating for him? Su Yunzhou chuckled. I possess the ability to replicate other cards. Is that not permissible? At this declaration, the 4 others were left in shock. 4. Su Yunzhou produced not 1, but 2 additional cards titled The Left Hand of the Card Emperor. Subsequently, each of the others flung 3 cards from their hands. which landed in Su Yunzhou's grasp. With a sly grin, he surveyed his newly acquired cards and declared, "This is it." At this point, the others found themselves completely at a loss. As rounds passed, they were unable to take any action. Their cards were swiftly claimed by Su Yunzhou. "This is absurd. Clearly, he should be declared the victor. This is unjust. I demand to lodge a complaint. Let's overturn the table." At this juncture, the card emperor intervened, stating, "If you believe he has violated the rules, you are welcome to voice your concerns." Upon hearing this, the others fell silent, for they could find no loopholes in Su Yunzhou's strategy. His cards were indeed those summoned by the sacrificial gun, identical in every detail. In this game, as long as the cards met the specified criteria, they were deemed playable. The outcome of the game was unmistakable. As the thief, Su Yunzhou rightfully claimed victory, while the expressions of the other four varied. They were primarily characterized by disdainful glances directed at him. Had it not been for the constraints of the game space preventing them from attacking, it was likely that Su Yunzhou would have been surrounded by all four opponents. After the other four were reluctantly compelled to sacrifice 3 items each, they returned to the train, seething with indignation. Only Su Yunzhou and the card emperor remained. Su Yunzhou laid out the cards he held before him. The transaction between him and the card emperor was straightforward. Su Yunzhou surmised that since the card emperor wagered the exquisite items of the other players, he must inherently possess the ability to retrieve such quality items. Indeed, the latter produced an object, type, item, quality, legendary, effect, capable of crushing items of fine quality or higher, with each crushing yielding a probability of producing a perfect, epic, or legendary item. In the event of no output, the probability will increase. Probability explanation: fine 1, perfect 5, epic 10, legendary 100. Probability resets after an item is produced. Su Yunzhou was unabashed. "Give it to me." The card emperor immediately retorted, "Dream on. This is my sole hope of no longer relying on card space. How could I possibly part with it?" However, despite the card emperor's sinister appearance, he was, at heart, a man of integrity. Naturally, he could not bestow upon Su Yunzhou the 1-type Magic Crusher, but he did offer him a 0-type Magic Crusher. The description of this item reads, type, item, quality, trash, effect, enables the crushing of ordinary or fine quality items, with each attempt yielding a probability of producing a perfect or epic item. In the absence of output, the probability will increase. Probability explanation: ordinary 0, 0, 1, fine 0, 1. Probability resets after an item is produced. Description: after substantial investment of fine items, this machine still yielded no output. In a fit of anger, the Grand Mage of the Wizard Tower labeled it as trash and cast it into the depths of the warehouse. Su Yunzhou twitched the corner of his mouth. "Do you truly find this item useful?" The card emperor, somewhat embarrassed, replied, "How about this? Why convert those cards back into items? You may take all the ordinary quality items. They are of no use to me anyway." Su Yunzhou: "Sounds fair." As the card emperor transformed the cards back into item form, Su Yunzhou was quite pleased to collect the ordinary items. The card emperor scoffed, "You tricked me this time. I did not anticipate your ability to discern the essence of this space. For someone your caliber, it is nearly impossible to grasp such concepts. I was indeed careless." Su Yunzhou smiled and nodded, remaining silent. He had previously been incapable of such feats, but when Yi Feng presented the Fate card, it was as if he experienced an epiphany. During the selection, he had seen through the rules and powers of that space. In this realm, he merely took a bit more time to uncover the rules of the game. "Cunning lad, since you've acquired what you came for, you may leave." The card emperor rose, and the card table before him gradually vanished. "If fate allows, you shall return here. By then, I hope to be free from the constraints of card power and become the true card emperor." Su Yunzhou tidied his belongings and nodded. "Best of luck to you." Back on the train, he first examined the ordinary items he had obtained. There were a total of 11 items, yet none caught Su Yunzhou's eye. It was evident that anything offered for sacrifice could not possess great significance. Otherwise, one would be reluctant to part with it. Suddenly, his gaze landed on a particular object. After careful consideration, he decided that with 6 bronze points in hand, utilizing one would not pose a problem. Thus, he chose to allocate his points. Super Cat Claw 1, type, consumable quality, excellent effect, exclusively for feline creatures. Upon use, the recipient will acquire a pair of extraordinarily powerful titanium alloy claws. which possess immense strength yet allow for graceful control, capable of unleashing formidable attacks. Description: though it has long vanished from the world, the legend of the Diamond Cat continues to resonate. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, pondering the implications. Does this mean that upon consumption, one might grow claws akin to those of a wolverine? Without further hesitation, he applied it directly to the black cat. As a pet, the black cat had no means of resistance and could only passively accept the modifications imposed by Su Yunzhou. Meow. Hakimi stood up, crossing its front paws over its chest. As its sharp claws gradually elongated from its paws, it then struck a classic Wolverine pose. Wow! Su Yunzhou exclaimed in astonishment at the sight of this diamond cat. This is incredibly impressive. Chapter 41. The Heart of the Energy Train 2 Now. Let me see if this zero-type magical recycling machine can transform into a first type after allocating points, Su Yunzhou remarked as he directed his points towards the machine, which stood half his height. Current bronze points for zero-type magical recycling machine. Type, item, quality, junk, effect, capable of recycling ordinary or excellent items. With each recycling action carrying a probability of yielding a perfect, epic item. If no item is produced, the probability will increase. Probability description, ordinary 1, excellent 5. Probability resets after item production. Description, modified from the Snack Magical Recycling Machine, it remains a device primarily for processing refuse. However, its recycling efficiency has significantly improved. After reviewing the attributes of this item, Su Yunzhou stroked his chin in contemplation. It seems this isn't entirely useless, even for the most unfortunate individuals. Recycling 100 ordinary items or 20 excellent ones guarantees at least one perfect item. Moreover, under normal circumstances, with a probability of less than 50, there is a substantial chance of producing an item. This is because the magical recycling machine generates a chance of production with each input. Thus, if one were to input 20 times, it would draw from probabilities that accumulate with each attempt. With this thought in mind, Su Yunzhou discarded the pile of ordinary items he had just acquired into the machine. However, the outcome was evident. It merely increased the probability. There is no rush. Much refuse awaits. The exceptionally high returns from this recycling machine are inevitable. After feeding the black cat a bit of cat food, it indulged in some sustenance of its own. Su Yunzhou continued his meditation and cultivation. 2 hours later, he felt a warm sensation enveloping his body, and his perception of energy became increasingly pronounced. Your level has risen to level 5. Experience points, 0.50. You have acquired 1 free attribute point. The talent bonus has been upgraded to gain 1 bronze point every 4 hours. Gain 1 silver point every 48 hours. You immediately receive 1 silver point. Current bronze points for current silver points. 1. Upon receiving this notification, Su Yunzhou was momentarily taken aback, followed by a burst of excited laughter. I've finally obtained a silver point. Now I can proceed to the next level. Without hesitation, he invested a silver point directly into the train. Train enhance. With an unusual ripple in the fabric of space, when Su Yunzhou regained his composure, he discovered that the interior area of his train had astonishingly expanded 4 to 5 times, while the height remained around 2 to 3 meters. The area was now comparable to that of a standard residence. He hastily opened the train's interface for inspection. Heart Energy Train 1, Great Heart Energy Train 2, Effect 1. Upgrading the train will no longer require you to provide basic resources. Effect 2. After upgrading, the obtained attributes will change to a selection of 3 options rather than a random draw. This increases the probability of higher-tier attributes appearing. Effect 3. From a spatial perspective, the internal area of the train is quadrupled in all compartments, yet the train appears unchanged from an external view. Effect 1 is undoubtedly a substantial enhancement. Transforming a requirement of 10 resources into none represents a qualitative leap. The specifics of Effect 2 remain uncertain, but should not be unfavorable, right? As for Effect 3, Su Yunzhou gazed at the now quadrupled space of the train, and even setting aside other considerations, his mood was significantly uplifted. The most exuberant was the black cat, which had begun to race wildly within the train. It had evidently been pent up. Furthermore, perhaps everyone has forgotten, the reward for the winner of this round was that, as a thief, Su Yunzhou had obtained 2 green treasure chests. Without delay, he proceeded to enhance them. The results of the enhancements from these two chests, however, were not the same. Green treasure chest 1, type, treasure chest quality, perfect effect 1. Guaranteed to receive 3 energy crystals and randomly obtain 13 excellent items. There is a minuscule chance of receiving a perfect item. Effect 2. Choose and receive 1 item from 3 perfect grade items. Only the item names are provided. Green treasure chest 1 type. Treasure chest quality. Fine effect 1. Slight effect 2. Acquire a random fine level carriage module card. It appears my previous conjecture was indeed accurate. Even for the same item, each allocation of points is randomized. One may achieve perfection in quality, while another may only attain a fine quality, resulting in a significant disparity in their effects. Without hesitation, Su Yinzhou first opened the perfect grade green treasure chest. Subsequently, 3 item names emerged. 1. Spatial backpack 2. Skill card, teleportation 3. Rejuvenation pill. Su Yinzhou chose the spatial backpack with hardly a moment's pause. Although the other 2 items appeared commendable in his estimation, they paled in comparison to the value of a dimensional backpack. Spatial backpack, type, spatial item, quality, perfect space, 10 slots effect. By reaching into the backpack and utilizing mental control, one can store and retrieve specified items. Living creatures cannot be stored. Description: theoretically, one cannot place objects larger than the backpack's entrance inside. Additionally, from this green treasure chest, Su Yinzhou obtained 3 energy crystals and a box. Gunpowder resource box, type, treasure chest quality, fine effect. A resource box that can store up to 500 units of gunpowder. Description: initially contains 50 units of gunpowder. All these items are indeed valuable. The utility of the spatial backpack is self-evident. Henceforth, Su Yinzhou need not expend energy transporting items. The gunpowder resource box also opens the possibility for him to begin selling ammunition. Unlike firearms, which are nearly unsellable, bullets are a true hard currency. There are even individuals willing to trade food for bullets. He promptly opened the next treasure chest. Black soil trailer carriage module card. Type, item quality, fine, effect 1. The soil of this carriage simulates a genuine soil environment, capable of supporting the growth of most crops. Effect 2. The fertility of the soil will not diminish with planting, maintaining a certain level of fertility indefinitely. Description: the dormant bloodline within awakens. Su Yinzhou twitched his lips. Does this imply a jest regarding my genetic heritage as a citizen of the Great Xia? He turned his gaze to the next item, which was a vial of fine-grade potion. Diluted blood of the Bishi type, potion quality, fine effect. Upon use, grants a 10-point physical enhancement buff for 1 hour. Afterward, the user will enter a weakened state, suffering a 30-point reduction in all attributes for 1 hour. Explanation: the blood of the mythical beast Bishi, diluted 100 times, possesses an unparalleled physical strength. Injecting this blood can temporarily enhance one's physique. However, there are corresponding negative effects. Chapter 42. The gift of the fertility goddess. Su Yinzhou did not immediately allocate his points. He indulged in playing with his cat, chatting in the online forum, lounging in bed, snacking, and sipping on refreshing drinks. As time passed, he gained a new bronze point and decided to allocate it to 3 items simultaneously. The items he intended to enhance were, of course, the following 3. Diluted Bishi blood type, potion quality, perfect effect. Upon use, it grants a 30-point physique buff for 3 hours. After this effect ends, the user will enter a state of weakness, with all attributes reduced to 90 for 12 hours. Once the weakness ends, the user will permanently gain 3 points in physique. Note: mortals with a physique below 20 points are prohibited from consuming undiluted blood. Spatial backpack, super backpack 1, type, spatial item, quality, perfect space, 100 slots effect. Slight note: this backpack contains powerful and intricate spatial forces, granting it a substantial capacity. Black soil trailer module card. Black soil trailer module card 1, type, item quality, perfect effect 1. The soil within this trailer simulates a true soil environment, allowing for the cultivation of most crops and trees. Effect 2. The fertility of the soil will not diminish with planting, maintaining a consistently high level of fertility. Effect 3. The yield of crops grown within this trailer will ultimately increase 5-fold. The super backpack resembles an ordinary backpack with a black, gray, and white color scheme, devoid of excessive patterns or text, save for a single opening. Su Yinzhou opened the backpack's mouth and peered inside, finding only impenetrable darkness. If he reached in, he would touch the bottom of the backpack. Without triggering the spatial forces, it was, in essence, an ordinary bag. He picked up a bottle of cola, concentrated his thoughts, and the cola was instantaneously stored within the backpack, which remained remarkably lightweight. He tested it with a living creature and discovered that his pet Hakimi could not be stored inside. Suyinjo hung the backpack on a clothes rack. Subsequently, he utilized the trailer module card, adding another compartment to his train. With this additional trailer, he could theoretically ensure a continuous food supply. Reflecting on this, he sighed, 18 months for a bread tree to mature. How long must one wait? Nevertheless, he proceeded to the black soil trailer. The environment within this trailer resembled that of a greenhouse cultivation scene, apart from the large expanse of arable black soil in the center. The surrounding scenery was no different from that of the other compartments. It is worth mentioning that this carriage requires a power connection to function, as it cannot harness sunlight from outside and must rely on electric energy for illumination. Su Yunzhou found a patch of black soil and planted a breadfruit seed, preparing to leave it to its own devices. Careful nurturing was out of the question. Its survival depended entirely on its own fate. At that moment, Su Yunzhou received a new message. Qin Ruoshui, C-class skill, the blessing of the mother goddess, 5 cans of meat and 5 cans of vegetables. Will you buy? Su Yunzhou, are you selling me a skill you won't learn yourself? It's certainly not worth that price. Qin Ruoshui, 5 cans of meat, this is the final price. If you don't buy, I'll sell to someone else. Su Yunzhou paused in silence, unable to respond immediately. Judging by the other party's attitude, the skill must indeed be rather disappointing. Otherwise, how could a C-class skill, conceptually rarer than perfect-grade equipment, be exchanged for merely 5 cans of meat? Even though food remained exceedingly precious, such a transaction seemed implausible. Qin Ruoshui, all right, fine, 5 cans of vegetables. I really have no choice with you. Upon reading this, Su Yunzhou smiled. This was indeed the price she had in mind, wasn't it? The so-called 3-stage bargaining method. First, a lofty price is proposed, followed by an ultimatum to sell or leave. And finally, a reluctant concession to the final price. Yet, in truth, her original expectation was to trade a C-class skill for 5 cans of vegetables, wasn't it? Unfazed by the revelation, Qin Ruoshui inquired again. So, will you trade? Su Yunzhou readily agreed. Of course, why not? A C-class skill can't be that terrible, can it? His willingness to trade stemmed primarily from the fact that he could allocate points. The random effect of point allocation theoretically held the potential to transform something initially worthless into a valuable asset. A specific example could be referenced as the zero-type magic crasher. With the expenditure of 5 cans of vegetables, Su Yunzhou received a C-class skill card. The moment he beheld this skill card, he was taken aback. Skill book, blessing of the mother goddess, type, skill card, skill level, C-class skill description. A blessing-type skill, when cast on a target. It will gestate a chaotic life embryo within them, which requires 3 months to fully develop. During the gestation period, the target will suffer a debuff of a 1060 reduction in all attributes, proportional to the embryo's development toward birth. This skill effect lasts for 10 minutes, after which the chaotic life embryo will naturally perish within the target, leaving no aftereffects. Explanation. To summarize the skill effect, it reduces the opponent's attributes by 10 for 10 minutes, and then it's gone. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, and a bold idea suddenly struck him. Indeed, this skill, when considered in isolation, appeared rather inconsequential. In most instances, it merely served to nauseate the opponent, reducing all attributes by a mere 10 points for a fleeting duration of 10 minutes. However, the crux of the matter lay in the fact that Su Yunzhou possessed another skill to complement it. Skill book, the art of Huanhua conception, type, skill book, skill level, D-grade skill description. Upon learning, one shall master the ability to accelerate the gestation process of the target, expending 25 points of spiritual power to hasten it by 1 month, up to the point of birth. This skill cannot be directed at non-pregnant subjects. Explanation, a commonly practiced spell of the Huanhua sect. The infants born through this method are often inherently flawed and are typically sold directly to the blood demon sect or the ghostly fiend clan as materials for cultivation. These two skills indeed seem to possess a certain synergy. In the infernal capital of the end times, a figure clad in a crimson uniform, seemingly human, inquired about the situation concerning the ultimate weapon 002. Before him stood another individual, dressed in a similar scarlet uniform, albeit with a different insignia, who was examining surveillance equipment. The latter responded, "Report, sir. 2 hours ago, the frenzied Rose unexpectedly entered a state of calm and exhibited contemplative behavior." The officer's expression brightened. Could it be that 002 is finally ready for deployment? Chapter 43. The Seventh Station. The Death Duel Arena. Apologies, sir. While there is a possibility of deployment, it is unlikely to be feasible. The officer was taken aback by this statement. What do you mean by that? The subordinate continued. Sir, we may indeed have the opportunity to deploy 002 to the battlefield during her calm state, but we cannot guarantee when she will descend into madness again. Just as he uttered these words, the monitors displayed the frenzied Rose once more spiraling into chaos. She screamed incoherently, "It hurts. I don't know who to wake up. Why? It's so strange." Yet, her words quickly reverted to their usual fervor. "Meat. I want to eat meat." Upon witnessing this, the officer sighed in exasperation. "Forget it. This one is a failure. I would advise Her Majesty to abandon the ultimate weapon project. The last time the death god of the undead claimed more of our allies than enemies, and now this frenzied Rose exclusively targets our own. Our investments yield no returns and continuously generate negative effects. It seems the time has come to abandon the ultimate weapon project. I shall draft a letter to the Empress to have these 2 weapons destroyed." Within Yi Feng's train, he held in his hand an object resembling a spirit crystal, albeit larger and of a striking purple hue. This was a purple crystal capable of providing 100 experience points. This item was obtained by him at the previous station, the Church of Fertility. At that juncture, Yi Feng finally experienced the privileges of being the protagonist, free from danger, adversity, and malice. The venerable and benevolent Archbishop, the innocent and kind-hearted Saintess, the hardy soldier, and the sharp-tongued yet considerate nun created a nurturing environment. Here, he chose to embrace the faith of the goddess of fertility, becoming the holy son of the church. Although he found some aspects of the church a tad unorthodox, after the Archbishop's impassioned sermon on the essential nature of fertility, Yi Feng immediately bowed before the statue of the goddess of fertility. This statue bore a striking resemblance to an anthropomorphized queen bee, with the upper body of a beautiful human woman and a lower body reminiscent of a bee's abdomen. While it was referred to as an abdomen, it appeared more like a beehive, oval in shape and adorned with a pattern of regular hexagonal cells. Upon his reverence, his train was enveloped in a shimmering green aura, and he was bestowed with the commencement of a lengthy quest entitled Tree of Life. The Archbishop proclaimed that upon the task's completion, he would inherit the divine power granted by the goddess of fertility, and the pure-hearted Saintess would remain by his side eternally. At this revelation, Yi Feng was overwhelmed with excitement, his desires ignited. Yet, he maintained the composure befitting a protagonist. In the presence of the Saintess, he kept a respectful distance of over 3 meters. Although a citizen of the modern Great Xia, he voluntarily knelt alongside the surrounding nuns and worshippers to pay homage to her. From his position on the ground, Yi Feng's gaze fell upon the Saintess's delicate feet, clad only in crystal sandals, which only intensified his fervor. However, he understood that patience was paramount. He must not leave a negative impression on her. Subsequently, the Archbishop bestowed upon him 3 pieces of exquisite equipment and a purple crystal. The purple crystal, a superior entity compared to the energy crystal, was intended for higher-level exchanges. Naturally, its most common application was to provide experience points. Upon concluding that station, Yi Feng hurried back into the carriage, clutching the purple crystal to absorb experience points. He toiled tirelessly for 15 hours, finally elevating his level to 3. His innate talent also ascended. Vitality, maximum physical capacity tripled. With an additional 9 points to physique, your level 3. Hope surged within Yi Feng's eyes as he murmured to himself, "My physique has now reached 21 points. Even if Su Yunju manages to attain level 5, she could never surpass me in physical prowess. As the protagonist, I shall not allow the villain Su Yunju to continue her arrogant reign." With the 7th station approaching, Yi Feng finally heard the long-awaited station announcement. "The train will arrive in 10 minutes. All train attendants, please prepare." Next station, Duel of Death difficulty, level 1 type. 2-person hostility much like Yi Feng. Su Yunzhao also heard the same station name. However, he possessed a bit of additional information. Danger level, Yi Feng, richness level, unknown special prompt, instill terror in your opponent. Let them experience true fear. What? Su Yunzhao was utterly bewildered. What's going on here? Is Yifeng targeting me? Upon seeing Yifeng's name associated with the danger level, Su Yunzhao instinctively felt he was being singled out. Yet, he also thought that Yifeng ought not to have the ability to alter his train station. Perhaps it was some sort of artifact? Such artifacts could indeed exist. After all, the fate card had manifested. At that moment, he glanced at the two skills in his possession, Gift of the Fertility Goddess and Heavenly Conception Technique. He had yet to learn these two skills, as he intended to allocate points before doing so. After allocating points to these two skills, the following appeared. Current bronze points. 3. Skill book. Safe Conception Technique I. Type. Skill book. Skill level. C grade. Skill description. Upon learning, you will master the acceleration of life gestation in the target object. For every 10 spirit points consumed, the gestation period is reduced by 1 month, with the maximum acceleration leading to birth. Furthermore, the likelihood of birth defects in the offspring is nearly 0. Note, this skill cannot target non-pregnant subjects. Skill card. Gift of the Fertility Goddess I. Type. Skill card. Skill level. C grade. Skill description. A blessing type skill when cast on the target. A chaotic life embryo will gestate within them, requiring 3 months for full development to birth. During the pregnancy, the target will suffer a 1060 all-attribute reduction debuff, proportional to the development stage of the chaotic life embryo. The effect lasts 10 minutes, after which the chaotic life embryo will naturally perish within the target, causing no lingering effects. Should the embryo successfully be born, it will possess formidable combat strength, and you may designate its initial moral alignment. Good will never initiate an attack. Evil will immediately consume the host upon birth. Hey, hey, hey. Su Yunzhao revealed a cunning smile. Yifeng, this is of your own making. I shall let you truly experience the sensation of motherhood. Chapter 44. Using the Saintess as a bargaining chip upon the train arriving at this station. Su Yunzhao found that he did not need to step off the train at all. He was directly transported into a vast structure reminiscent of the Roman Colosseum. Soon, he realized that beneath his feet lay a magic circle the size of a manhole cover, rendering him completely immobile. Opposite him stood another individual. In the present moment, within the arena of combat, only 2 individuals stand, while a third hovers effortlessly above them. This hovering figure is a robust man, his upper body exposed, showcasing a physique reminiscent of a mighty champion, clad merely in a simple t-shirt and athletic shorts. In his hand, he wields a microphone, vociferously addressing a camera. Welcome to the 170th death match. I am your old friend, Big Ethan. As he speaks, he gestures for the camera to focus on the 2 combatants below. Notably, this camera is a drone, automatically trailing Big Ethan as he hovers. With a wave of his hand, the camera captures close-ups of both competitors. On the left stands Yifeng, the contemporary holy son of the fertility sect. Upon this proclamation, a group of individuals clad in matching green robes rises from the audience, led by an elderly gentleman and a strikingly beautiful woman, rallying support for Yifeng. The lens then shifts to Su Yunzhao. Yifeng's adversary is none other than the unparalleled champion of the G8 zone in the train survival game, Su Yunzhao. The audience's response is a cacophony of silence, jeers, and even boos. Su Yunzhao internally laments. Is this the consequence of lacking a support team? How outrageous! After concluding the introductions, Big Ethan continues to face the camera, swiftly reciting. For those who may be witnessing this event for the first time, allow me to elucidate the rules of the match. Both parties must duel within the designated arena. Yifeng is wielding a death match voucher, thus should he emerge victorious, he can strip Su Yunzhao of everything, including his life, train, skills, and resources. Conversely, if Su Yunzhao prevails, he may depart from this place unscathed. Su Yunzhao raises an eyebrow, questioning, isn't this rule exceedingly unfair? If I lose everything. Yet if he loses, he faces no consequences? Big Ethan responds calmly. Contestant Su Yunzhao, you are the 988th individual to contest the fairness of the deathmatch rules. I must clarify that our rules are indeed fair. However, some individuals enjoy a slight edge in fairness over others. The initiation of our arena is contingent upon the usage of the deathmatch voucher, thus granting the user an undeniable home advantage. Moreover, as the user of the deathmatch voucher, Yifeng will receive 3 advantageous buffs. At this juncture, Big Ethan abruptly halts, his speech accelerating to a rapid cadence. Are you still unable to seek vengeance due to the overwhelming strength of your opponent? Are you too fearful of retaliation to pursue retribution? In this world, who hasn't harbored a mortal enemy? Hurry and click the link in the comments to purchase the official deathmatch voucher. The sooner you buy, the sooner you can revel in its benefits. Delay, and the next targeted individual might just be you. After a lengthy yet rapid-fire advertisement, Su Yunzhou could only manage a cold smirk. He had comprehended the situation entirely. This was unequivocally a pure battleground for beasts. Yifeng was the one orchestrating the fight, while he was merely the sacrificial lamb. Following the advertisement, the Isan approached Yifeng and inquired, "What kind of buffs do you believe you require?" With a flamboyant toss of his hair, Yifeng proclaimed with pride, "As the protagonist, what need have I for buffs? Such prowess is inherently mine." The Isan's expression became exceedingly exaggerated, his tone laced with astonishment. Wow. To audaciously claim the unfair advantages from outside as one's own strength. Yifeng truly possesses an audacious face. He continued, "Now, please direct your gaze to the big screen, where the 3 randomly assigned advantageous buffs for our challenger Yifeng are displayed." At this juncture, the Isan elongated his final syllable, and a rapid, pulsating BGM began to resonate throughout the venue. Subsequently, the effects of the 3 buffs appeared on several screens visible to all. Double blessing. The effects of blessings received are doubled. Not destined to perish. Upon nearing death, you shall gain 1 second of invincibility. Preemptive strike. After the duel commences, your opponent will remain ensnared in the formation for 3 seconds. The Isan exclaimed, "These 3 buffs are exceedingly practical. With such enhancements, Yifeng is sure to effortlessly triumph over Su Yunzhou." Just as the death match was about to commence, the Isan's voice was abruptly interrupted by the director in his earpiece. "Stop. Hold on. Find a way to have Yifeng wager something too." The Isan switched off his microphone, covering his mouth with his hand. "Director, this contradicts the rules." "Rules?" The request was made by the spectators themselves. "That is the rule. You must find a way, preferably to ensure this duel is completely derailed. Neither side can afford to offend." At that moment, the Isan was drenched in sweat, his shirt soaked with cold perspiration. "Wait a moment. We received a request from the production team that, in order to enhance the spectacle of the competition, Yifeng, you must now select an item of equivalent value to wager against Su Yunzhou. Should you lose, this item will be forfeited to him." Upon hearing this, Yifeng retorted vehemently, "I cannot possibly lose." The Isan chuckled wryly. "I'm afraid this is the rule. Otherwise, our duel cannot commence." After a moment's contemplation, Yifeng boldly declared, "I will wager everything I possess on my train." His demeanor exuded unwavering confidence, even casting a self-assured glance towards the audience. However, the Isan's subsequent remark left him utterly astounded. "Apologies, esteemed contestant Yifeng, but upon comparing the resources at your disposal with those of contestant Su Yunzhou, we have discovered a considerable disparity. The entirety of your supplies aboard the train is significantly lacking in comparison, rendering them inadequate as leverage." "What?" Yifeng was immediately taken aback, even uttering a phrase in the tongue of an island nation. "Therefore, if you're unable to present equivalent stakes, we shall be compelled to cancel the duel." The Isan's tone grew more assertive, as he sensed a glimmer of hope. Yifeng, now distressed, exclaimed, "How is it possible that I possess nothing comparable to his stakes?" Chapter 45. Yifeng, with twins on the way. The Isan's brow glistened with sweat, and he sheepishly remarked, "My apologies, but upon further verification of your assets, it appears that this may indeed be the case. Should you fail to provide sufficient stakes within 1 minute, we shall have no choice but to annul this duel." At that moment, an elderly figure in the stands spoke up loudly, "We shall provide the stakes for this confrontation." The Isan promptly rushed to the elder's side. "Your Excellency, the Archbishop of the Fertility Sect, what stakes do you propose?" The Archbishop, stroking his beard, replied, "I shall offer 30 units of the Fertility Sect's assets as stakes." After a brief silence, the Isan gritted his teeth and replied, "I'm afraid that remains unequal." At this juncture, even he was growing increasingly astonished. What manner of individual could possibly possess resources that rivaled 30 units of the Fertility Sect's wealth? In truth, Su Yunju did not possess such abundant resources. How could a single train contain assets comparable to those of an entire church? However, the crux of the matter lay in the fact that the Great Heart Energy Train 2 is a vehicle of remarkable growth potential. Not to mention, this train has been endowed with a prism attribute, rendering it extraordinarily precious, indeed, beyond monetary valuation. The disparity between the two was akin to comparing $100 million to a soon-to-be presidential candidate. Such comparisons are simply unfathomable. At this moment, the Archbishop, seemingly losing his composure, boldly declared, "Holy Maiden, let us use the Holy Maiden of our sect as stakes. She embodies the power of procreation and destiny, which should suffice." Right? Upon hearing this, not only was the Isan left in shock, but the Holy Maiden herself was equally incredulous. The noble Holy Maiden of the fertility sect is meant to be revered by the goddess of fertility. How could she be wagered in a duel? Meanwhile, the Isan's cold sweat trickled down. He had overseen many death matches, yet he had never encountered stakes involving destiny itself. What is destiny? It is the guidance of the divine, the ticket to transcendence, the potential for invincibility. And now it was being proposed as a wager? This cannot be happening. Please, let not be so. The Isan merely wished to be a humble worker, caught between two demigods. With stakes of such magnitude, the fallout from a potential fallout would be dire. Could we not simply cancel this confrontation? In the heart of Isaac, despair reigned supreme. The Archbishop was acutely aware of the significance of the Saintess. However, the dilemma lay in the fact that one of the participants in this contest was their holy son. If the Saintess served as a vessel dedicated to the Mother of Fertility, then the Holy Son represented the means through which the Mother manifested in this world. Each Holy Son, handpicked by the Mother of Fertility, ultimately ascended to the ethereal realm through their progeny, continuing to establish their harem. It could be said that the Saintess is but a tool, while the Holy Son emerges as the victor of life, provided he does not meet an untimely demise. Ascension to the ethereal realm is but a matter of time. Therefore, as the Archbishop, he must ensure that Yi Feng participates in this match. And he firmly believes that Yi Feng will emerge victorious. For his deity is watching. Yi Feng cannot possibly lose. However, I must first seek the Saintess's consent. As Isaac began to speak, he noticed the Saintess's expression was as cold as ice. I agree. Excellent. As a professional host, Isaac possessed the fundamental qualities of his role. He swiftly adapted his tone, transforming the preceding scene into a sensational revelation. In the evolution of the death duel arena, this marked the 31st occurrence where a woman was used as a bargaining chip. Yet today was distinct, for this woman was no ordinary individual. She was the Saintess of the cult of fertility. Just then, a deep male voice crackled through his earpiece. "Hurry up and begin," Isaac promptly declared. With the stakes now established, let us commence the death duel. In the next moment, Yi Feng was freed from his restraints, surging towards Su Yunzhou and delivering a powerful blow to his face. Su Yunzhou, unable to move, took the punch squarely. The strength of his body at 21 points propelled Su Yunzhou several meters away, crashing heavily to the ground. Damn it! After being struck and sent flying, he regained control of his body without hesitation, immediately consuming the blood of the Bishi. His physical prowess surged to a staggering 51 points. In that instant, Su Yunzhou felt every limb and sinew expand, his veins throbbing, his heart pounding robustly, as if his muscles had reached a new pinnacle. During the brief interlude, while Su Yunzhou regained his footing, Yi Feng rushed forward once more, launching his attack. This time, he wielded his green spear. Ha ha ha! How does it feel to be humiliated, Su Yunzhou? For my first strike, I shall not even use a weapon, but rather my fist to strike your face. Yi Feng's expression was frenzied, his words brimming with satisfaction. He craved this moment. Soon, he would defeat Su Yunzhou and reclaim all that was rightfully his. Prepare to meet your end, Su Yunzhou. My next strike is a D-rank skill, and with the enhancement of my 21 points in physique, there is simply no way for you to withstand it. The green field spear. As I spoke, Yi Feng unexpectedly hurled the spear in his hand towards Su Yunzhou with great force. However, upon striking Su Yunzhou, the spear abruptly ricocheted off. Indeed, it was as if it had collided with a spring, bouncing back with great vigor. The passive effect of the heavenly mirror armor activated. 99% immunity to ranged damage. with a chance to trigger a rebound. As the green-field spear soared back towards him, Yifeng felt a surge of horror, yet his reaction was swift. He immediately attempted to evade. At that moment, however, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. Two minuscule, chaotic life embryos, no larger than cells, had silently begun to gestate within him. The blessing of the fertility mother was a boon effect. In this duel, Yifeng had acquired a special enhancement that doubled the blessing effect. Yifeng was with child twins. Upon feeling the discomfort in his belly, Yifeng sensed that something was amiss. Yet, he soon realized that his attributes had merely decreased by 20 points. TCH, a trivial skill. He bellowed and charged once more at Su Yunjiao. With each step he took, his momentum swelled. By the time he reached Su Yunjiao, his physique had astonishingly risen to 30 points within those few strides. Nevertheless, Yifeng's current physique could not possibly rival that of Su Yunjiao. As Yifeng thrust his spear, he desperately clutched onto his opponent's spear. Yifeng was aghast. He found himself utterly unable to withdraw that spear. How could this be? How could your strength surpass mine? Chapter 46. Father and son's chaotic duel in the stands. The archbishop wore a grim expression. Yifeng was clearly at a disadvantage. However, knowing that his deity was watching, he felt reassured. Yet the next moment, an even more terrifying scene unfolded. Su Yunjiao firmly gripped the spear with one hand, and since Yifeng showed no signs of relinquishing it, he was forcibly drawn closer. Subsequently, Su Yunjiao delivered a punch to Yifeng's abdomen. At first glance, the punch seemed inconsequential, yet it harbored a peculiar life force. This energy penetrated Yifeng's abdomen, and rather than diminishing, his belly swelled even further. What on earth was happening? Big Ethan continued to shout into the camera, rousing the emotions of those around. Yifeng's belly is expanding. With each punch Su Yunjiao delivered, Yifeng's abdomen grew larger. With the third punch, Su Yunjiao struck mercilessly at the now distended belly. Yifeng cried out in pain, trembling uncontrollably. His abdomen had swollen to the size of a 9-month pregnant woman, tearing his clothing, with veins visible beneath the skin. What is happening? How could a man possibly be pregnant? In the stands, there were both human and non-human spectators, all gazing at the scene of the duel with expressions of utter astonishment. Even the seasoned host, Isaac, who had presided over thousands of death matches, had never witnessed such an absurd spectacle. He had seen bodies explode, limbs torn asunder, opponents devoured alive, and flesh ground to paste, but witnessing a childbirth in the midst of a death duel was an unprecedented occurrence. And to add to the incredulity, the one giving birth was a man. However, once the death duel commenced, even he, the host, had no power to halt it. It was beyond his authority to intervene. This moment would undoubtedly become the most viewed event in the history of the program. As the scene unfolded, some watched intently, others turned away in horror, while some experienced exhilaration and others felt nauseated. Yifeng's ever-expanding belly reached a critical point, tearing open a gruesome wound. At that moment, Yifeng disregarded his long spear, collapsing to the ground in excruciating pain. He dared not move or roll about, for any pressure on his abdomen would intensify the agony. His attributes had now been reduced by 90, rendering him weaker than an ordinary person. In that moment of torment, Yifeng painfully realized he was on the brink of death. No, it cannot be. As the protagonist, how could I perish here, succumbing to such an absurdity? He could scarcely utter a word, yet a fierce will to survive blazed within his mind. In the next instant, a brilliant green light erupted from his chest. The source of power. At that moment, Yifeng's innate ability, vitality, began to diminish in its limitations. Originally, his talent was vitality, maximum energy capacity tripled. Additional physique 9, your level 3. Now, it had the added restriction, vitality, maximum energy capacity tripled. Additional physique 9, your level 3, not exceeding 300. The limit quickly dwindled to not exceeding 108, then halted. Although Yifeng's attributes had been decreased by 90, his physique attribute astonishingly returned to its original value. Nonetheless, this did not alter the grim reality that he still had to continue giving birth. In the sky, Isaac softly inquired to the director through his earpiece. Director, should we declare a loss in this situation? If this continues. However, this time, Isaac received no response from the director. Instead, a mundane, unremarkable voice emerged. Don't worry about it. Just continue as you are. This rule-breaking individual will come to regret it. He understood. The Isaac was left unaware of the identity of the speaker. However, the individual capable of seizing the dialogue device from the director is undoubtedly a formidable presence that he cannot afford to offend. It is highly likely that this is the observer referred to by the director moments ago. Subsequently, the grand Ethan exuberantly exclaimed to the camera, "It has happened. It has happened. Our contestant, Yi Feng, is about to set a historical precedent by giving birth on our stage of fatal decisions." Just as his words concluded, two extraordinary beings began to emerge slowly from within Yi Feng. These creatures resembled bears, yet were devoid of fur, their entire flesh exhibiting a deep crimson hue. Although they possessed heads, these were featureless, dominated instead by enormous mouths filled with razor-sharp teeth. At that moment, it seemed as though the monsters were tearing and devouring Yi Feng's intestines, their maws smeared with both red and yellow remnants. However, they swiftly consumed their meal, turning their gaze towards the agonized Yi Feng lying on the ground. The archbishop, unable to contain himself any longer, exclaimed, "My lord, the Holy Son." Yet beside him, the saintess concealed a glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes, skillfully masking her true emotions. Beneath her sacred and immaculate facade lay a heart brimming with hatred, fury, and countless dark thoughts of slaughter. The reason for her turmoil stemmed from her own abduction, and despite her elevated status, she was destined to become a mere expendable entity in service to the mother of fertility. Confined within a space no larger than a restroom, year after year, she was forced to produce various grotesque beings. The archbishop believed her to be ignorant, when in truth she had already conducted extensive covert investigations into many secrets. Meanwhile, in the duel arena, Su Yunzhao observed Yi Feng with keen interest. He had just realized that Yi Feng had restored his initial physical prowess. Though his abdomen was ripped open and his flesh was mangled, the infusion of special energy had endowed him with a combat strength of 21 points. Amidst the astonished and terrified gazes of the audience, Yi Feng rose to his feet. Throughout this ordeal, Su Yunzhao refrained from taking advantage of the situation, as he was uncertain whether the two newly birthed monsters might suddenly attack him. At this moment, Yi Feng's adversaries were indeed those two newly emerged creatures. Su Yunzhao decisively distanced himself from the fray, positioning himself as an observer, fully prepared for the unfolding spectacle. Roar! Howl! The two monsters that had emerged from Yi Feng's body, initially the size of small dogs, had visibly grown to the size of medium-sized dogs. They may have lacked eyes, yet they instinctively detected Yi Feng, lunging towards him with a ferocious intent to bite. Infuriating, despicable, Yi Feng's eyes blazed crimson, filled with rage as he fixed his furious gaze upon Su Yunzhao in the distance, then turned his ire upon the two monsters. "I shall slay you." The three of them swiftly became entwined in a fierce struggle. Although Yi Feng was stripped of his long spear, his physical prowess and combat skills were commendable. There was no reason he could not contend with the two newly born monsters. The dilemma lay with Su Yunzhao, who was not the type to remain idle. Given his uncertainty about the monster's aggression, he refrained from approaching them recklessly. However, this did not preclude him from launching a surprise attack. As the battle unfolded between one man and two beasts, Su Yunzhao retrieved the finest automatic pistol in the vicinity. After identifying the opportune moment, he aimed for a general area spanning from Yi Feng's head to his heart and unleashed a barrage of gunfire. But soon, Su Yunzhao recalled, "Fate has not decreed your demise. At the brink of death, one would gain 1 second of invincibility." Su Yunzhao pondered inwardly. Yi Feng possessed this trait. Should I strike at his vital points now, he would enter invincibility and likely concede defeat. Thus, I would gain nothing, while he would only suffer minor injuries, escaping any substantial penalty. Enlightened by this realization, a sinister smile reminiscent of a Soul Temple elder crept across Su Yunzhao's face. In that moment, Su Yunzhao deliberately targeted Yi Feng's hands, feet, wrists, elbows, ankles, and knees, firing bullets with precision. The sounds of gunfire echoed. 13 shots rang out. Though Yi Feng retained his passive ability to disregard the severity of his wounds, the bullets found their mark in his ankles and joints, rendering him incapable of maintaining normal movement. His actions soon became sluggish and erratic, leading to swift downfall as the two monsters pounced upon him. gnawing at his abdomen and posterior. Evidently, these creatures lacked conventional hunting instincts. Otherwise, they would have aimed for the neck rather than the two most fleshy areas. Their primal urge was to satiate their hunger rather than to kill. In mere moments, Yi Feng's lower body was rendered unrecognizable. Yet, Su Yunzhao was relentless, now aiming between Yi Feng's incapacitated legs. The weapon unleashed a torrential barrage. The anguished screams that followed were 100-fold more harrowing than Yi Feng's previous cries during childbirth. In the audience, the archbishop wore an expression of profound anguish and despair. Su Yunzhao, you are no son of man. With that, he suddenly rolled his eyes and fainted. At that instant, Su Yunzhao heard a notification. Due to the extraordinary pain you have inflicted, the goddess of suffering takes notice of you. Su Yunzhao furrowed his brow. The message was cryptic and left him unable to probe further. What suffering? Had he truly caused any? On the opposite side of the dueling arena, the immense torment finally rendered Yi Feng unconscious. At this moment, the announcer declared, competitor Yi Feng has lost the ability to continue fighting. The death duel concludes. At that moment, a protective barrier emerged, evidently a manifestation of Yi Feng's momentary invincibility. Su Yunzhou had initially contemplated whether he could exploit that fleeting second to eliminate Yi Feng. However, he swiftly realized that his physical mobility had once again been shackled. Does losing consciousness equate to surrender? Is this what you deem a deathmatch? Upon hearing Su Yunzhou's derision, the imposing Eason surprisingly donned a sheepish grin, performing a comical bow reminiscent of the craftsmanship spirit of a certain island nation. Red bean paste. Private Marseille. We hope this contestant will not take offense. We shall offer you compensation in private. Oh, and how could he forget? Eason seemed to recall something pertinent. The tokens, the holy maiden of the fertility cult, now entirely belonged to Su Yunzhou. Simultaneously, an influx of energy surged from above the dueling arena into the holy maiden, rendering her utterly bereft of control over her own body. Eason chuckled. For the next 24 hours, her body is entirely yours. You may adorn her with a slave collar or inscribe a slave mark, and she shall not resist. However, be forewarned, this effect lasts merely 24 hours. Should she flee or rebel thereafter, we shall bear no responsibility for any losses incurred. At this juncture, the holy maiden finally displayed a hint of trepidation. Though she had fantasized about preferring to be captured and humiliated by goblins rather than serve as a tool for a so-called deity, those were but mere figments of her imagination. The harsh reality of becoming a stranger's slave was an unbearable prospect for her. Yet, during the betting phase, she had verbally consented to be used as a wager. Now, under such circumstances, she found herself incapable of retracting her agreement. She was rendered voiceless. In this lethal duel, even deities dared not confront each other directly, resorting instead to exerting influence from the sidelines. This illustrates that the mother of fertility would never personally intervene to rescue a so-called holy maiden. With countless realms under her dominion, her churches were abundant. What creature would refuse to procreate? Each year, these churches presented hundreds, if not thousands, of holy maidens. How could she possibly care for just one? As for why she was so invested in the Holy Son, it was due to a deeper, more profound connection. Observing the scene, Su Yunzhou refrained from voicing any thoughts. In truth, he contemplated using this holy maiden to barter for something of greater value. However, upon witnessing the Grand Bishop fainting from rage and the murderous glares of the other clergy, coupled with the awareness of Yi Feng's identity as the Holy Son, he ultimately decided against it. Clearly, this congregation was in no mood for rational discourse, and with the Grand Bishop incapacitated, what negotiations could be had? I understand. Su Yunzhou contemplated, allowing the organizers to make the decision. He cast a sidelong glance at Eason, delivering a cold, mocking retort. If only the benevolent observer could serve as the impartial judge. Eason could only hunch over, offering a nervous smile, too intimidated to utter a word. As the battle came to a close, Su Yunzhou paused for a moment before being transported back to the train once more. Upon his return, he discovered that the train was already traversing the desolate plains. Had it set off automatically? Alas, what a lackluster station this had been, yielding scarcely any rewards. At that moment, he noticed an additional presence aboard the train, a person and an object. The person, naturally, was a humiliated maiden, kneeling on the ground and gazing up at him in reverence. The object appeared to be an ordinary paper voucher. Deathmatch voucher, type, consumable quality, perfect effect upon accurately knowing a target's appearance and name if they're within the same area as you. You may designate them as the challenger. You and they will be transported to a duel station in one of the next 3 stations, guaranteed to be opposing factions. If you defeat your opponent, you will acquire all of their resources. If you lose, they may depart unscathed. As the user of the deathmatch voucher, you will randomly gain 3 buff effects. Description: the back of the voucher bears a small inscription. Esteemed contestant Su Yunzhou, your performance this time was truly unexpected, and we sincerely invite you to participate in a death duel once again. Of course, this time you shall be the challenger. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. Then, he turned his gaze towards the kneeling maiden. Your name? Smack. Su Yunzhou delivered a resounding slap to her left cheek. The effect of the blood of the Bishi had not yet faded, and with his formidable strength exceeding 50, the impact left the maiden momentarily dazed. However, to Su Yunzhou's astonishment, a faint green glow appeared on her face, swiftly healing the fiery imprint of his hand, which vanished in an instant. Your self-healing ability is quite remarkable. Why is it that every opponent I encounter possesses such terrifying regenerative powers? Fina Angelo. Fina, is it? And your gender? The maiden lifted her head, her gaze fixed on Su Yunzhou, filled with humiliation. Speak quickly. How am I know if you're truly Zainan Liang? Answer promptly. Female. Chapter 48. Hakimi. The human struggle is truly dull. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin thoughtfully. Theoretically, Hakimi could be listed on the trading platform. There's no reason this woman couldn't as well. He made a slight attempt, and indeed, it was possible. Yet ultimately, Su Yunzhou shook his head, dismissing the idea. Regardless of the circumstances, he could never engage in human trafficking, unless he found himself in an absolute dead end, in which case, there would be little left to discuss. He could even resort to cannibalism. Yet at present, he not only survived, but thrived in his endeavors. There was no need to compromise his principles. Thus, I can only release this individual within 24 hours, or else there may be repercussions. Alas, this station has truly cost me dearly. That Yi Feng has truly put me in a predicament. Just as Su Yunzhou pondered how to maximize his benefits, a notification echoed in his ears. Soon, a new deep blue panel emerged before Su Yunzhou. He promptly inquired, with just one cut, how can I divide 4 oranges among 4 children? The response was, please refrain from asking questions unrelated to the current event. Su Yunzhou then asked, how can I tame Fina Angelo as my pet? The reply elucidated that to address this inquiry, one must first comprehend Fina Angelo's life history, character, and thoughts, followed by a rational analysis of her physical condition and mental state to devise targeted strategies. What followed was an extensive discourse spanning 5,000 words, leaving Su Yunzhou utterly astonished. To avoid the suspicion of filler content, the details will not be divulged here. As he continued reading, his astonishment turned to alarm, exclaiming this can't be right. This is rather inappropriate, isn't it? At that moment, Su Yunzhou's gaze towards Fina transformed, akin to discovering that the class's innocent beauty had a social media account sharing her daily life. So this is what you enjoy, Fina? Since being transported onto this train, Fina had remained acutely vigilant, and now she was taken aback. What? What are you saying? I can't understand. Su Yunzhou shook his head and replied, it's nothing. I just need to look at some more things. Why don't you play with my cat for a bit? It could do backflips, you know? The black cat obediently approached, nuzzling against Fina. It lay down comfortably on her kneeling lap. At merely 20 years of age, Fina found herself captivated by the feline. She glanced at Su Yunzhou, noticing him staring blankly into the air, oblivious to her presence. Curiously, she asked, Meow, can you really do backflips? 10 minutes passed. Su Yunzhou finally finished reading and stood up. The AI was indeed impressive, providing step-by-step instructions that were straightforward to follow. Subsequently, his gaze turned dangerously towards Fina. Meanwhile, the black cat lay wearily on the ground, casting a glance at the bed and pondering. These two humans seemed to be quite entangled. Perhaps I need not perform backflips anymore? With a hint of resignation, it retreated to a corner, contemplating, this master is rather ruthless. Is it truly acceptable to engage in such a manner? There's bloodshed, and this human female's voice has gone hoarse. The way humans fight is quite peculiar. It's so noisy, should I not protest a little? Suddenly, the cornered Hakimi was struck. While it has developed a certain level of intelligence, allowing it to overcome its innate feline instincts, it still harbors a natural aversion to water. Dreadful humans. They have encroached upon my territory. How brazen they are. Asserting dominance on the very first day. My status is in jeopardy. Alas, it seems pity is warranted. She has been treated so harshly by her master. Hakimi arrived at the connecting door between the train compartments. It raised its gaze to the doorknob, gathered its strength for a leap, tugged at the handle, and then nudged the door open with its head. As it slipped into the next compartment, the door would gently close behind it. The soundproofing between compartments was fairly decent. It was much quieter now, a perfect opportunity for slumber. 2 hours later, successfully tamed Fina as your pet. When dealing with a pet of considerable intelligence, please heed the following points. 1. Pets will not willingly engage in actions that harm or betray their owners. 2. Depending on the pet's personality, when faced with danger to both itself and its owner, it may choose to protect itself or prioritize the owner's safety. 3. Under no circumstances should one harm their pet, as this may lead to the possibility of betrayal. However, emotions, deception, and enticement may compel a pet to make sacrifices willingly. 4. Above all, regard your pet as an independent entity, rather than a mere accessory. Su Yinzhou glanced at the unconscious Fina, choosing to disregard her for the moment as he sought to cleanse himself while he still possessed the ability to do so. The effects of his bloodline would dissipate in 10 minutes. At that moment, he also noticed the new prompt regarding pets. Indeed, Hakimi's intellect appeared rather limited. After all, a pet that could be tamed with a mere can of meat could hardly be deemed intelligent. Soon after, another notification appeared. You have acquired a new blasphemy card. Please take note. Su Yinzhou raised an eyebrow. A new one? Does that imply there is no limit to the number? On another note, why is mine not a destiny card? The term blasphemy card sounds ominous. However, recalling his actions towards the saintess, he ultimately accepted the name. Blasphemy card, breeding, type, unique concept, quality, superior, effect 1, blasphemous destiny. Quality will advance with the holder's level, increasing by 1 tier every 10 levels. Effect 2, breeding curse, loss of reproductive capability. Effect 3, unknown, unlocks upon advancing to the next quality tier. Description: lower beings that dare to usurp the power of the god of breeding shall meet only destruction. Taboo: destroying the destiny card will randomly impose an exceedingly difficult curse upon oneself. This cannot be right. Am I to be rendered infertile? Su Yunzhou's expression darkened. He looked down. Why is my desire only intensified? Currently, I find myself devoid of the primal instinct to procreate, my mind consumed entirely by feelings of discomfort and unease. Though my understanding of the ruins of the gods card is rather limited, I have witnessed Yi Feng utilize it, significantly enhancing his prowess, elevating him by an entire tier, or perhaps even more. However, I now ponder why the ruins of the gods card seem so lackluster. Could it be augmented in some manner? Chapter 49. The Period of Weakness. Su Yinzhou gazed at the ruins of the gods card in his hand. The card depicted a striking image of a human female from the waist up, her lower half transforming into a colossal beehive. The pose was haunting, as a long sword pierced her chest, staining both the blade and her pristine form with crimson blood. The reverse side of the card revealed a backdrop of a starry sky. As Su Yunzhou contemplated the card, he silently intoned, "Enhance." Yet, no visible transformation occurred. He attempted to assess it further. Ruins of the Gods card, breeding level 1 type. Unique concept quality, excellent, effect 1. Ruins of the Gods destiny. The card's quality will advance in accordance with the holder's level, escalating by 1 tier for every 10 levels attained. Effect 2. Breeding divine punishment. Entities bearing your bloodline will possess immensely formidable innate abilities, and you shall wield complete dominion over their existence. However, the number of offspring you can procreate will be stringently limited. Current: 0. Each enhancement of the Ruins of the Gods card will increment this value by 1. Effect 3. Unknown. Unlocks upon advancing to the next quality tier. Description: those lowly beings who seek to usurp the divine power of breeding shall meet only destruction. Yet, perhaps not entirely. Taboo: destroying the destiny card will randomly afflict the individual with an exceptionally challenging curse. Su Yunzhou let out a soft sigh. At least I am not entirely without heirs. However, reflecting on my current plight aboard the train, where danger lurks daily, I find myself uncertain of my own survival. Such thoughts seem futile. After a refreshing shower, Su Yunju distinctly felt his body succumbing to an increasing frailty. His veins and muscles seemed to have been mercilessly ravaged. When Hakimi awoke from its slumber in the dark soil compartment, it found the bedroom enveloped in silence, only to return and encounter two humans sprawled upon the bed like limp fish, resembling lifeless corpses. The mysterious feline approached Su Yunju, meowing insistently. The implication was evident. It was hungry. Yet, Su Yunju was utterly disinclined to move. He felt as though a million ants were gnawing at his limbs, leaving him both sore and powerless to resist. Thankfully, he retained the ability to speak. "Fina, please rise and serve Hakimi some cat food. Remember to seal the bag properly. Otherwise, it will open it and steal a snack." Oh, Fina appeared disoriented, her body still convulsing uncontrollably, yet she instinctively began to obey Su Yunjua's commands. Hiss! As she stood up, pain surged through her, jolting her mind into a clearer state. Nevertheless, she continued to dutifully follow Su Yunjua's orders. After filling Hakimi's bowl with cat food, she approached Su Yunjua, who lay on the bed, and perched herself at the edge, gazing down at him. In this moment, she possessed the capability to end Su Yunjua's life. With a mere grip, she could strangle him to the brink of unconsciousness. A few hours prior, there would have been a slight chance she might have acted on such an impulse. However, now, she had entirely surrendered. Looking at Su Yunjua, she unexpectedly smiled. "Master, I feel as though my 19 years have been in vain. Today, I realized how dreary the life of a saintess truly is. The games those little boys play with the archbishop in the church seem so joyous." Su Yunjua, too fatigued to lift his eyelids, retorted, "I cannot be bothered to critique what games your archbishop and those boys are engaged in. However, I dislike being referred to as master. You may call me boss instead. Furthermore, I am utterly exhausted and wish to refrain from conversation." "Boss, you seem a bit pale," Fina remarked, her finger tapping her lips. "But I read somewhere that men tend to be like this. Due to the phenomenon known as sage time, I have grown disinterested in conventional matters. I find myself drawn to tales of eldritch beings adorned with tentacles." Su Yunjua's expression darkened. "I am quite skeptical about how you acquired such literature. Is your church truly a reputable institution?" Fina, undeterred by her boss's sarcasm, continued, "Actually, at 16, I summoned an eldritch entity through various means. I wish for it to accompany me in play." Su Yunjua opened his eyes to casually speak of such matters. "You truly are a remarkable individual." He. I was stifled in the church. No one could engage with me on these topics. "So, what became of that eldritch being?" Fina sighed. "It claimed to be female and was incapable of fulfilling such desires. However, it offered me a substantial sum of money to escape my identity as a saintess and pursue a life of freedom." Su Yunjua questioned, "Did you not accept?" Fina exhaled a sigh. "I did agree, but it never delivered, as it was swiftly obliterated by the goddess of fertility in a flash of green light. Since then, I have been under constant surveillance by nuns within the church, devoid of even the privacy to relieve myself. Forget self-indulgence. I couldn't even read the literature I once enjoyed. Alas, my words dwindled, and I became like a stoic mask. The current version of me is my true self, capable of being playful and seeking affection, dear master." With all his strength, Su Yunjua raised a hand to press against her forehead. "Seek? Even seeking requires patience. Now, go take a shower and heat up some canned food for me to eat. Hurry." Fina sobbed softly, however, she obediently proceeded to take a bath. Su Yunjua mused internally. Is this what they refer to as the contrast of a female character? At this moment, he suddenly recalled that he could also examine Fina's basic attribute panel. Once she emerged from her bath, he promptly performed an appraisal. Fina Angelo, type, pet quality, perfect effect 1. Holy Maiden of the breeding sect, as the Holy Maiden of this peculiar church. She has studied a portion of fundamental healing and physical enhancement spells, most of which were learned for the purpose of procreation. Effect 2. Chosen of the octopus evil god. Regardless of the circumstances, she indeed possesses the innate talent to summon the octopus evil god. With diligent study, she may also have the potential to summon and contract a random octopus evil god. Description: what have you done to a holy maiden of the church? Wait, she is the holy maiden of the breeding sect? Very well, it appears you have done nothing wrong. Su Yunjo pondered. A perfect quality, even surpassing Hakimi's quality. I wonder what her actual combat prowess entails. The combat ability of a black cat, without assuming its spiked-back dragon form, is comparable to that of an average medium-sized dog, perhaps even struggling against a normal human. Yet, upon transforming into the spiked-back dragon, it may become immobile but can withstand immensely powerful attacks, coupled with its unique talent of possessing 9 lives. As Su Yunzhou's thoughts raced, he swiftly resolved to bestow a point upon the holy maiden as well. Fina Angelo 1 type, pet quality, perfect effect 1, slightly altered effect 2, slightly altered effect 3. Apprentice mage, possessing the innate talent for basic spell learning. Fina has a chance to intuitively grasp spell skills and can more readily acquire related knowledge. Description: she possesses remarkably impressive magical talent. Yet, as the holy maiden of the breeding sect, she naturally has had little opportunity to study a diverse array of spells. Is it merely the addition of an apprentice mage ability? Su Yunzhou inquired of Fina. Do you know any spells? At that moment, Fina was engrossed in the instruction manual, learning how to operate the induction cooker. She turned to him and replied, I know a few, perhaps. As she spoke, she placed a finger on her lips, deep in thought. For instance, I have studied spells such as the art of safe delivery, the art of midwifery, the art of maintaining pregnancy, and the art of preventing stretch marks. Su Yunzhou felt a twinge of embarrassment. That truly aligns with the focus of your church. However, now that you are with me, it seems somewhat beneath your talents to learn those. It is time for you to explore spells meant for combat. After all, I'm a player of a survival game on a train, and we shall encounter various dangers ahead. You must understand this, right? Upon hearing this, Fina's eyes sparkled with excitement. New spells? Could it be that I am to learn a powerful spell that allows my master to survive without succumbing to dehydration for a full 24 hours? What a peculiar enchantment this is. Su Yunzhou sighed, rubbing his forehead. Forget it, it's fine. As long as you can be a competent Fiji cup, I cannot demand too much from you. Nevertheless, as a saintess, Fina performed admirably in attending to others. She patiently and meticulously fed the exhausted Su Yunzhou and tidied up his disheveled bedroom with great care. Compared to the pampered individuals back on Blue Star, who suffered from princess syndrome and required exorbitant dowries, Fina was undoubtedly considerate and unpretentious, exuding a gentle charm grounded in the simplicity of everyday life. After dinner, Su Yunzhou squinted and declared, I'm going to sleep now. Do not disturb me. Hey boss, may I sleep with you? You should sleep with Hakimi. Fina paused for a moment, glancing at the makeshift cat nest fashioned from a cardboard box in the corner. How could I possibly sleep in that box? With that, she wasted no time waiting for Su Yunzhou's consent and promptly burrowed under the covers. 24 hours later, Su Yunzhou had finally emerged from a grueling period of exhaustion. During that time, he had required Fina's assistance even for the simplest tasks, such as using the restroom. You ask where I need help. Surely you know. Su Yunzhou glanced at his physique attribute, which had risen by 3 points, now standing at 26. His spiritual power was 12, and his agility had stagnated at 10. Thus, his subsequent points would need to focus on enhancing agility. Su Yunzhou also realized that physique and agility were interdependent. Even if his physical strength was formidable, slow punching speed would naturally diminish the force of his strikes. Conversely, if agility was high and physique low, rapid movements would be unsustainable for the body. The human body, during swift motion, inevitably faces issues such as physical impact, environmental friction, and the inertia of organs. The remedy for these challenges lies in having a physique that corresponds with agility. Just then, an announcement echoed through the train. The train will arrive at the station in 10 minutes. All train attendants, please prepare. Next stop, Midnight Security Booth, difficulty level 1 type, solo, danger level, malevolent spirits, reward level. Excellent special note. Good and evil are repaid accordingly. Fina turned to Su Yunzhou, saying, Boss, the train has arrived, and the name sounds a bit frightening. Su Yunzhou was taken aback. You can hear the announcement too? Fina looked at him as if he were foolish. Isn't that obvious? The announcement comes from the front of the train. It was then that Su Yunzhou understood. She was not able to see the prompt panel, but rather she could hear the train's arrival announcement. Due to his possession of foreseeing vision, he had overlooked the broadcast, directly checking the information panel provided by the system. Su Yunzhou paused briefly, his expression remaining calm as ever. I am merely testing your hearing, and it appears your auditory faculties are indeed intact. By the way, it is highly likely that a malevolent spirit will manifest at this station. And the crucial reminder is that good and evil are ultimately rewarded. Remember that. Oh, understood. Fina nodded, seemingly grasping the concept. Suyi and Zhou then glanced at the mysterious cat by his side. Did you catch that? Meow. He subsequently produced a spirit paper figure. Fina was taken aback. 2 liters? After a brief attempt, Suyi and Zhou shared the identified attribute panel with Fina for her perusal. She was not overly astonished by the sudden appearance of the deep blue panel and quickly accepted this new reality. Suyi and Zhou inquired, "Are you familiar with the train survival game?" Fina shook her head. "I only know it is a game of the gods, wherein deities randomly select enlightened beings from various realms to participate. In this game, survival grants a chance to enter the ethereal realm. Our world was not chosen. However, it seems there may be subsequent rounds, a second and third batch, so there is still hope." Suyi and Zhou regarded her thoughtfully. "Those bound to my train, like yourself, are likely unable to participate." Fina's gaze was vacant. "Boss, please do not test me. I truly have no intention of fleeing." Suyi and Zhou fell silent, maneuvering the paper figure off the train. Outside, it was indeed midnight. An eerie stillness enveloped a straight street lined with indistinct buildings, obscured and inaccessible, clearly not part of the designated station map. The paper figure ambled but 100 steps before arriving at a discernible community. The complex appeared aged, comprising 8 stories with an elevator. However, the paper figure could only meander in the first-floor lobby, barred from the stairwell and unable to operate the elevator. Other areas remained off-limits. Nonetheless, he soon discovered a security booth. Main quest activated. Content: remain on duty in the security booth for 25 hours, 0150 minutes. Reward: green treasure chest 1. Suyi and Zhou initially intended for the paper figure to occupy the security booth, but soon realized this would not accrue time. Hence, he took Fina and the cat into the booth. Upon entering, Suyi and Zhou found the space modest, yet sufficient to accommodate a chair and a small bed measuring 1 meter wide. The booth also housed a computer, the screen locked on surveillance footage. Cradling Hakimi, Suyi and Zhou leaned back in the chair, murmuring, "Something feels amiss, entirely amiss. Just 2.5 hours here, nets a green treasure chest? Surely, this is too simple." Chapter 51. Side quest. Meanwhile, Fina scanned her surroundings, curious about the scene before her. Is this what they call a technological world? The disparity with our reality is quite pronounced. Just as their minds diverged in thought, an anomaly transpired. A frail old man, pallid and hunched, emerged from the distant mists, his abdomen oozing a peculiar green liquid. As he approached the security booth, Suyi and Zhou noticed a gruesome, gaping wound on his belly, from which not crimson blood, but a vile green pus flowed. The sight was utterly repulsive. Yet, what rendered the scene even more bizarre was the sausage he clutched in his hand, its enticing aroma igniting a primal hunger within Suyi and Zhou. Beside him, Fina could not help but swallow repeatedly. This strange sensation, a disconcerting blend of desire to consume and repulsion, was driving him to madness. Both he and Fina felt a profound discomfort. The gruesome tableau before their eyes was enough to induce vomiting, yet the scent wafting through the air stirred an instinctual appetite. In stark contrast to the two, Hakimi's reaction was far more unrestrained, unable to resist the urge to dash forward and seize the sausage. Suyi and Zhou, however, would not allow such a reckless action, tightly holding onto the dark cat and casting it a warning glance. "Move again, and you shall become the sausage." Before long, the evidently inhuman old man placed the sausage upon a bench in the booth. Suyi and Zhou and Fina remained motionless, hesitant to act. The dark cat, having lost interest as the aroma faded, returned to its feigned slumber. Fina, still shaken, remarked, "Boss, that old man looks terrifying." Suyi and Zhou replied, "No need for appearances. He is likely a malevolent spirit. Once we step outside the booth, we may very well face his wrath." As they exchanged words, another hunched figure approached. This time, it was an old woman. Suyi and Zhou discerned her identity from her stature, for her face was grotesquely disfigured. Bloodied flesh irregularly strewn across her visage in a most unsettling manner. However, she was not alone. She was accompanied by a child. The child appeared to be young, but bore a disturbing deformity. A portion of his head seemed to be caved in, as if a quarter of it had been excised. At that moment, a chilling smile spread across the old woman's face as she spotted the sausage on the bench. Approaching it, she remarked with a sinister cheer, Such fragrant sausage, left to waste. I shall take it home to cook for your grandfather. The grandson then chimed in, Grandma. Today, I punctured the tire of a car that looked very expensive. The grandmother's flesh-ridden smile grew even more unnerving, causing Fina to shudder. Well done, my dear grandson. Terrified, Fina instinctively looked at Hakimi before shrinking down beside Su Yunzhou, clutching his leg for a semblance of security. Su Yunzhou chose to disregard the matter at hand, his mind swirling with thoughts. It seemed that this grandfather, grandmother, and grandson were far from ordinary. At that moment, Fina suddenly darted beneath him. What are you doing? He inquired. Boss, there appears to be a newspaper under the table, she replied. With that, Fina retrieved a newspaper bearing a footprint from beneath the table. Su Yunzhou, intrigued, asked, Are you familiar with newspapers? What's there not to know? Fina replied, her expression one of bewilderment. All right, that was my question, he chuckled, not dwelling on it, and turned his attention to the newspaper. The opening line revealed a sensational headline. A family of 5 found dead. What could have led to such a perversion of humanity or moral decay? As Su Yunzhou read further, he discovered the grim details. A family of 5, from grandparents to parents and children, had all met their untimely demise. The grandfather succumbed to a medical mishap. The grandmother and grandson perished in an elevator accident, while the parents fell victim to a car crash. The entire news piece conveyed a narrative suggesting that the family had fallen prey to a series of unfortunate accidents. But was this truly the case? Su Yunzhou stroked his chin thoughtfully as he approached the window of the security booth. He had already noticed a green mailbox hanging outside. Inscribed upon it were the words, complaint letters. The mailbox could only be opened with a key, and after a brief search within the booth, he discovered the corresponding key. Upon unlocking it, he found it stuffed to the brim with complaint letters. With 2 full hours to spare, he felt no urgency and began to peruse each letter at a leisurely pace. Fina, somewhat impressed, remarked, Boss, these letters are all quite similar. Yet you're actually reading them all? Su Yunzhou shook his head. What if one of these letters conceals a £1 million prize? Just then, a small car approached the security booth, moving at a slow pace. Peering through the window, they noticed that the driver's seat was eerily devoid of a face, presenting instead an expanse of smooth, featureless skin. Simultaneously, a notification echoed in their ears. Your pet Fina has received a side quest. Objective, take a taxi and proceed to the hospital to commence work. Reward, a random D-grade medical skill book. Note, the quest must be undertaken by Fina Angelo. Fina glanced timidly at Su Yunzhou. Boss, do I really have to get in the car? She shuddered at the sight of the faceless driver and the ominous taxi, a chill running down her spine. In her previous world, cars were non-existent, though she could surmise that this contraption was akin to a carriage or a magical vehicle. The eerie atmosphere left her instinctively fearful. Yet, Su Yunzhou remained unfazed. It's all right, go ahead. I suspect this vehicle won't take you to the hospital at all. Oh, Fina was momentarily taken aback. Isn't this task impossible to accomplish? Then it's all right if I don't get in the car. I can just stay by your side, she said hurriedly. However, Fina dared not defy Su Yunzhou's orders and bravely climbed into the taxi. Almost immediately, the driver erupted in a torrent of profanities. Damn it, who slashed my tire? To her horror, the faceless man unexpectedly turned his head, presenting a featureless visage devoid of any discernible facial characteristics directed towards Fina. A chill ran down her spine, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. Strangely, the driver's tone remained exceedingly cordial. I sincerely apologize. It appears there's no way around this. Would you like to call another taxi? I can cancel this ride for you. Fina could hardly comprehend his words and merely nodded vacantly. Before long, she found herself back at the security booth. Hastily alighting from a vehicle, she dashed back to Su Yunzhou's side, who sighed, exasperated. Haven't you summoned an evil god before? Why are you afraid of such things? Chapter 52. The rising family of 5. Fina retorted indignantly. But the evil god is quite adorable, you know. As she spoke, she surprisingly rummaged through her chest and produced a photograph. The image depicted a creature resembling an octopus, entirely pink with reddish spots. It boasted large black eyes, rosy cheeks, and a cat-like mouth. Its 8 tentacles were adorned with pink suckers, rendering it utterly charming. Could this really be an evil god? Fina nodded affirmatively. Of course. It's called an evil god for a reason. Who would summon it if it weren't cute? Su Yunzhou conceded. That does seem somewhat reasonable. At that moment, The taxi driver, still grumbling, had departed. Though he lacked a mouth, he continued to utter auspicious phrases. Alminus, Yadajalami, Aoli Amphi. Just as the taxi slowly pulled away, two cars suddenly sped towards the security booth, headlights blazing, blinding both Su Yunzhou and Fina. Fina gasped in terror. Those cars are going to hit us. With a thunderous roar, the two vehicles collided with the security booth. Moments later, Su Yunzhou heard a sharp cracking sound. He turned to survey the scene, only to discover the booth unscathed, with the two cars vanished without a trace. However, the jade amulet he had worn around his neck had shattered into fragments. Damn it! My equipment! Su Yunzhou fumed. Although it was merely a common piece of gear, it was nonetheless a prized, ordinary item. At the very least, it could have been recycled in the Zero Magic recycling machine. And yet, it was ruined just like that. Initially, he had only intended to perform his temporary security duties with ease. But now, he felt compelled to take action. 5-star General of Country Garden, mobilize! Fina's eyes widened in astonishment. Boss, what do you intend to do? Su Yunzhou glanced at the remaining time until the train's departure and the duration he had already spent waiting in the security booth. Time until departure, 1 hour and 56 minutes. Security duty, 150 minutes. Considering he needed to reserve an additional 10 minutes to return to the train, he had a mere 10 minutes to confront these malevolent spirits. Fina hesitated for a moment. Boss, it's actually quite safe for us to stay here. That kind of situation shouldn't occur repeatedly, right? Su Yunzhou turned to her, his gaze resolute. Fina, remember this. Peace sought through struggle endures, while peace sought through compromise perishes. If we wish to remain safe in this security room, we must eradicate these wretched spirits. However, you should stay here. Hakimi can accompany me outside. You are too weak at the moment. Feeling a pang of shame from his words, Fina lowered her head in silence. As soon as Su Yunzhou stepped out, he summoned the wrathful Rose. She quickly surveyed her surroundings and assumed a combat stance. Having been instructed previously to prepare for battle if the summoning occurred outside the train. In the next moment, 5 vengeful spirits suddenly encircled Su Yunzhou, who had just exited the security booth. The spirits were a grandmother with a face mangled and bloodied, a grandfather whose abdomen oozed foul green pus, a small boy with a sunken head, and 2 entities of indeterminate gender, identifiable only by their human-like forms. I am filled with hatred. Why? Why do misfortunes befall our family? My entire family is dead. Come, join us in death. D. The spirits surrounded Su Yunzhou and his companions. Their incessant howls filling the air, the oppressive aura of terror making it hard to breathe. Rose, Hakimi, hold them off for 3 minutes. Rose, looking helpless, replied, How can I fight these souls without bodies, boss? Meow. Despite her reluctance, Rose charged forward. While she was incapable of inflicting harm on the incorporeal spirits, they could not bypass her to directly attack Su Yunzhou. It was akin to a game where one must first defeat the monsters on the field before being able to launch an attack. Hakimi, the Shen cat, was particularly exceptional. Assuming its spiked-back dragon form, it drew the ire of all 5 spirits. The spirits lunged at Hakimi, biting, clawing, and unleashing ghostly attacks. Within less than a minute, numerous ghastly wounds marred Hakimi's form, yet remained unscathed in terms of vitality. Meanwhile, what was Su Yunzhou doing? He was drawing on the ground. With chalk of unknown origin, he sketched a peculiar and intricate pattern on the floor. At this point, some may already recall which of Su Yunzhou's skills this was. Refinement of Spiritual Array Technique 1. Type, Skill Level, See Effect. Mastery of the foundational principles of arranging arrays using spiritual energy, along with advanced knowledge, while also grasping the principles and methods for deciphering most arrays. As a practitioner in a world of cultivation, Su Yunzhou has naturally acquired several array techniques for exorcising spirits. Given sufficient time, he could even delineate a grand array for exterminating ghosts, effortlessly obliterating the 5 malevolent spirits. However, time is of the essence. He selected the simplest of exorcism arrays, capable of completion in a mere 3 minutes. Of course, arranging the array is not as simple as mere sketching. It requires Su Yunzhou to channel his spiritual energy into the drawing. He now wields chalk, meticulously inscribing the array on the ground, all the while depleting his internal spiritual energy. Fortunately, this particular array does not demand a substantial amount of energy. in 3 minutes. With a consumption of 36 points of spiritual energy, the ordinary exorcism array is complete. Suyunzhou promptly commanded, Rose, Hakimi, retreat. At this moment, both Rose and Hakimi bore injuries, appearing somewhat fearsome. Yet, their regenerative abilities are remarkable. Once Hakimi disengages from battle, he requires only a comfortable environment to restore himself fully in no time. As for the ferocious Rose, her self-healing prowess during combat is formidable. If she is well fed with meat, she becomes virtually indestructible. Upon hearing Suyunzhou's command, both immediately retreated. Rose was dismissed from summoning, while Hakimi, reverting from his spiked dragon form, hastily returned to the security room. The 5 malevolent spirits soon took note of Suyunzhou's array. However, they quickly realized, you think a mere, ordinary exorcism array can deal with us, the vengeful spirits? Such an array may suffice for spirits without grievances, but it is utterly futile against us. What a splendid human body. Once I seize yours, I can continue living in your guise. Grandparents, parents, grant me your body. At this, the 4 vengeful spirits cast indulgent glances at the ghostly child. Chapter 53. The Yin and Yang messengers. Very well, my precious. You have been most obedient. Soon, I shall grant you rebirth. Despite the greedy, predatory gazes of the 5 malevolent spirits, Suyunzhou offered a faint smile. Before that, I must share something with you. Young one. The ghostly child glared with wide eyes, his voice a raspy terror. What do you wish to say? Do you know the reason for your demise? The ghostly child bellowed. Of course, it was due to the elevator. The elevator malfunction caused my death. I died in an accident. Suyunzhou shook his finger dismissively. No. The truth is that your father, as the property manager, neglected the elevator's maintenance, ultimately leading to your tragic accident. His inaction has led both you and your grandmother to meet a tragic demise within the elevator, leaving your bodies in a state of disarray. Upon hearing these words, the vengeful spirits of the old grandmother and the child seemed to recall something. Instantly, they turned their terrifying, ghastly gazes toward the middle-aged male specter. This ghostly figure bore an eerie and contorted form, resembling a grotesquely manipulated doll, retaining only the semblance of humanity. Father. So it was all because of you, despicable, ungrateful child. You have brought us to such an end. At this moment, Suyunzhou attempted to mediate, saying, All right, let me clarify the timeline for you. First, dear grandfather, you placed a perfectly intact, poisoned sausage on a park bench, intending for someone to unwittingly take it, thereby causing random fatalities, correct? Upon a revelation of his wrongdoing, the ghostly aura surrounding the old grandfather diminished sharply. The once pitch-black malevolence transformed into a shade of ashen gray. Yet, what you did not anticipate was that your wife picked up that very sausage and prepared it for your meal. How poetic is the notion of reaping what you sow. At that moment, the old grandfather could no longer be referred to as a malevolent spirit. After Suyunzhou articulated that his true cause of death was not merely an accident, the spectral essence surrounding him turned a ghastly white. He had lost the karmic burdens essential for a vengeful spirit. Stripped of resentful power, he was left with only fear and despair. And as for you, dear grandmother, not only did you procure the poisonous sausage for your husband, but you also deliberately sabotaged the elevator, did you not? In your bid to prevent others from using it. You obstructed the elevator with objects, ensuring that only you and your family could ride. Little did you know that such actions would damage the elevator, and your son, as the property manager, exhibited a complete lack of responsibility, failing to arrange for repairs. At this revelation, the ghostly aura of the grandmother, too, turned pale. Next, Suyunzhou directed his attention to the other 2 adults. You must be the ill-fated couple who perished in that tragic accident. I must emphasize that your demise was not due to a mere car accident. Rather, one of you ran a red light. There is no other explanation for your collision at an intersection equipped with traffic signals. He then pointed at the woman. You gained entry into the hospital through connections. Yet your skills were inadequate, leading to a catastrophic failure during the surgery you performed on your father-in-law, resulting in his death due to medical malpractice. The female ghost protested, but that was because the original surgeon was on leave. She was not supposed to. Suyunzhou interjected with a smile. Not supposed to take leave? In truth, she had no intention of doing so. However, her taxi had a tire malfunction, causing her to arrive late, prompting her to take the day off. Can you guess why that taxi driver experienced tire trouble? He glanced at the child ghost, and it was evident that this family was well aware of the mischief the young boy delighted in, puncturing others' tires. Su Yunzhou turned to the final man and said, "As for you, neglecting the elevator is one thing, but why did you have to crash into an ambulance? Are you unaware that the very lives being transported are those of your elderly mother and your son? Their chances of survival were already exceedingly slim, and now, due to your reckless actions, they may perish on the way to the hospital." Once Su Yunzhou finished speaking, the 5 vengeful spirits lost all desire to attack him. Instead, they began to turn on one another in a frenzied battle. "Curse you, wife. Why do you insist on picking up stray items? How many times have I told you not to bring home trash from outside? Damned wretch. Why didn't you fix the elevator? Scoundrel of a son. I told you to slash someone else's tires. I commanded you to puncture tires." Su Yunzhou observed the once loving family now entangled in a deadly conflict, completely turned against each other. With a sigh, he remarked, "A family should be harmonious and united." The exorcism array beneath his feet flickered with light, and searing white flames scorched the bodies of the spirits. "Ah, it hurts. It burns," they cried. Su Yunzhou chuckled. "This exorcism array itself inflicts no harm. The burning flames you feel are merely the karmic retribution for the evils you have committed in life. The more wicked one has been, the more pronounced the suffering during exorcism." At that moment, Su Yunzhou noticed 2 towering figures approaching. Simultaneously, 2 voices resonated. One was a deep, mature male voice. "Ah, bye. It seems we have arrived too late. Someone has already taken care of matters." The other voice, slightly raspy and elongated. "Hey good, this lad indeed possesses some skill. He has single-handedly dealt with an entire family of vengeful spirits." It was then that Su Yunzhou recognized the newcomers. One was tall and slender, with a pale complexion and a sinister smile, his tongue protruding. Adorned with a white hat inscribed with "Wealth Comes," he wore white clothing and held a feather fan. The other was short and stout, with a dark complexion, fierce expression, and deep-set eyes. He donned a black hat inscribed with "Peace under Heaven," dressed in black attire, with chains in his left hand and a tiger's talisman in his right. Su Yunzhou immediately recognized them as the yin and yang messengers, but he was taken aback. Did the underworld truly exist in this world? He Wuchang, with a solemn expression, replied, "Yes, brother, it exists, but you should understand that the underworld is vast, and we cannot oversee every spirit." Bai Wuchang interjected, "This world not only has the underworld, but also heaven, hell, the netherworld, the sea of spirits, the hall of heroes, the dark side, and the land of shadows." "All right, enough with the recitations," Su Yunzhou interrupted, then inquired, "Since you are late this time, and I have assisted in resolving the matter of the 5 vengeful spirits, might there be some form of compensation for my efforts?" Upon hearing this, the 2 messengers fell silent, their expressions grave and watchful as they regarded Su Yunzhou. Su Yunzhou let out a resigned sigh. "Well, those 2 brothers seem to be mere laborers. Life isn't easy for them." Surprisingly, upon hearing this, the black and white impermanence immediately replied, "Now that you've called us brothers, what more is there to say? Ah, Bai, present this brother with a talisman." Chapter 54. Task accomplished. Departing the station, the black impermanence said nothing further. With a swift motion, he conjured a palm-sized talisman and handed it to Su Yunzhou. With his windswept lips, he spoke, "Brother, we owe you a debt of gratitude for your assistance this time. Take this talisman." Without hesitation, Su Yunzhou accepted it, smiling as he replied, "Ah, you are too courteous. We are all brothers." He then glanced down to inspect the item. It was a consumable that could be used 3 times. Talisman, banish evil spirits. Type, consumable. Quality, excellent. Uses 3. Effect, upon use, all malevolent spirits within a 5-meter radius of the talisman will suffer substantial exorcism damage for 1 hour. Description, demons and monsters be gone. Indeed, a true expert in ghost hunting. This item was a potent tool for exorcism. Su Yunzhou expressed his gratitude to the 2 ghostly messengers. The black and white impermanence then remarked, "You should continue with your own matters. We have tasks to attend to and cannot linger." Subsequently, Fiona, who had been hiding in the security booth, witnessed this scene. Su Yunzhou waved farewell to the 2 spirits, clasping his hands together and bowing twice. The black and white impermanence walked a distance before turning back to wave as well. In that moment, Fiona felt a peculiar sensation as if time had slowed down. What are they doing, Hakimi? Before long, Sui and Joe returned to the security booth. Fiona, curious, inquired, "Boss, who were those two?" Sui and Joe stroked his chin thoughtfully. The black and white impermanents. If one must categorize them, they could be considered laborers. As he spoke, he lifted the mysterious cat into his lap, beginning to caress its soft fur. The cat settled comfortably, appearing utterly content, even purring softly. Its wounds were healing rapidly. One of the cat's traits allowed it to recover health swiftly as long as it was in a comfortable and serene environment. This included the ability to restore even the life force that had been previously spent. Fiona watched the harmonious scene of man and cat, momentarily uncertain of whom to envy more. "Master, I beg you." "Beg? You must queue for that." For a considerable time thereafter, Sui and Joe encountered no further dangers. Not even a frightening scene arose, and the trio, 2 humans and a cat, enjoyed a period of tranquility within the security room. Upon returning to the train, the system announced, "Main quest completed. Content, duty in the security booth for 25 hours, 500 minutes. Reward, received a green treasure chest. Hidden quest completed. Content, vanquished all malevolent spirits through personal strength. 55. Reward, a fishing hook that never misses. Side quest incomplete. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the side quest remains unfinished, and compensation is provided. Reward, a random E-grade medical skill book. Although this station does not allow for the scavenging of supplies, provisions for compensation have been prepared. In essence, Su Yunjo's Dominion throne ensures that he cannot venture to a platform devoid of rewards. As for the existence of such platforms, they certainly abound. Upon returning to the train, he adhered to the customary procedure of enhancing the green treasure chest first. Green treasure chest 1. Type, treasure chest. Quality, perfect. Effect 1. Guarantees the acquisition of 3 energy crystals and randomly grants 13 exquisite items, with a minuscule probability of yielding a perfect item. Effect 2. From 3 perfect grade items, select and obtain 1. Only the item name is provided. Su Yunjo opened the treasure chest. Please choose 1. Treasure-seeking mechanical dog. 2. Skill card, chicken machinery mobilization. 3. Faulty robot. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Yunjo dismissed the third option. A faulty robot could hardly be a valuable asset. Among the first 2 choices, he opted for the treasure-seeking robot. After all, lacking precise hints, it would be quite challenging for him to locate treasure chests at every station. Furthermore, his current combat prowess was sufficient. Acquiring another skill held little significance. The prospect of treasure-seeking felt far more tangible and promised delightful surprises. Upon making his selection, the treasure chest vanished, and he found himself in possession of 3 energy crystals and 2 items. Alas, was it merely the guaranteed yield once more? Current energy crystal count, 13. The 2 items were treasure-seeking mechanical dog. Type, pet. Quality, perfect. Effect 1. Treasure-seeking. The mechanical dog will autonomously explore the vicinity for treasures and return them to the train. Effect 2. Evasive maneuver. When attacked, the mechanical dog enters an evasive state, temporarily gaining 10-fold agility and swiftly retreating to safety. Note, as a mechanical creation, the treasure-seeking dog requires charging to function, with its charging port located at the back of its neck, compatible with most charging interfaces. Description: if there are no dogs in heaven, then when I die, I want to go where the dogs go. Will Rogers. Intermediate medical kit. Type, item. Quality, exquisite. Effect. The kit contains basic medical equipment and some essential medications, capable of treating most common ailments. Description: a medical kit. What more shall I explain? Although the kit resides in his hands, only a single handle is firmly gripped. The entire medical box occupies approximately 211 cubic meters, resembling a pristine white coffin. Upon opening it, Su Yunjo discovered it was indeed filled with an array of basic medical supplies and medications. After a moment's contemplation, he decided to stow it in the storage train. In his other hand, he held a medium-sized mechanical dog, significantly larger than Hakimi. Its eyes were outfitted with a blue display screen, and its mouth featured a protruding speaker, with its entire structure composed of metal. Woof, woof. The speaker emitted a mechanical, synthesized bark. Fina looked on in perplexity. Is this contraption a dog? I've never encountered such a breed before. Su Yunjo found himself at a loss for an explanation. Meanwhile, the nearby Xian cat unexpectedly assumed an aggressive stance, glaring at the mechanical dog with hostility. You shall be named Wonkai, fittingly a treasure-hunting dog. Woof. The mechanical dog screen displayed an emoticon. Goodness, this mechanical dog's emotional quotient is truly remarkable. Su Yunzhou remarked, Hakimi, you must coexist peacefully with Wonkai. Fighting is not permitted. Just as he spoke, Hakimi dashed forward, leaping onto Wonkai in a playful tackle. However, her physical capabilities were insufficient to affect Wonkai, and she ultimately spun 360 degrees in midair before regaining her footing. Realizing she could not contend with Wonkai, Hakimi cleverly licked her paws and retreated to her cat nest. Observing this scene, Su Yunzhou chuckled, Hakimi, you truly possess a sense of timing. Chapter 55, The Unfailing Fishing Hook. Subsequently, Su Yunzhou sought out a random charging port for the mechanical dog. To his delight, he found he could indeed recharge it. At the back of the dog's neck was a small opening that could be adjusted freely. Su Yunzhou inserted the charging port and secured it. By some unknown principle, charging commenced. During the process, the dog screen displayed a battery symbol, and once it was fully charged, it would indicate completion. Next, he naturally turned his attention to the other two reward items from this recent endeavor. Hidden task, perfect quality item, the unfailing fishing hook, type, item quality, perfect effect. When placed, the hook will yield a random species of fish every 24 hours. Note, the size of the caught fish will correspond to the dimensions of the hook. One cannot expect to catch a blue whale with a hook the size of a finger. Description, simply hang the hook like a Christmas stocking, and by the next morning, you will find a fish caught upon its hook. Upon seeing this item, Su Yunzhou felt a surge of joy within, a stable source of food. However, he quickly realized it did not specify that the fish would be edible. In this myriad of worlds, would he end up catching a zombie fish? After all, there had been instances of absurd creatures like vampire zombies before. Su Yunzhou found himself compelled to contemplate the likelihood of such a situation arising. He decided to allocate some points and assess the circumstances. Subsequently, he retrieved the E-grade medical skill book. Skill book, designated good juice for you. Type, skill card, skill level. E-skill description, a medical skill that consumes 10 spiritual power and 10 physical strength to generate a bottle of good juice. This juice randomly provides a certain healing effect and guarantees a restoration of 10 stamina points. Cooldown, 30 minutes. Note, the good juice produced by this skill cannot be consumed by the skill user. Otherwise, it will have no effect. Explanation. You might wonder why such a skill exists? I have no idea. Upon seeing this skill, Su Yunzhou was momentarily taken aback. Yet, he quickly acclimated to this peculiar premise. After allocating points to the green treasure chest, Su Yunzhou had 6 bronze points remaining. He intended to invest in the following items: treasure hunting mechanical dog, talisman to banish evil spirits, never empty fish hook, and skill book, designated good juice for you. After expending 4 points, his current bronze points, 2. The outcome, of course, delighted Su Yunzhou immensely. Never empty fishing hook 1 type, item, quality, perfect effect 1. When set, the fishing hook produces a random species of fish every 24 hours. Effect 2. Ensures that the fish produced are harmless and can be consumed by normal biological entities. Explanation. If the caught fish is inedible, how is that different from being empty-handed? Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, realizing that this truly was a reliable tool for stable food production, deserving of its perfect quality. Yet, he pondered, the previous fishing hook was also of perfect quality, but he felt it somehow fell short. At that moment, a possibility struck him. Random species? This implied the potential to reel in golden fish, juvenile kuin, or fish concealing treasure chests within their bellies. Once he entertained this notion, Su Yunzhou recognized the fishing hook as undeniably perfect, a tool teeming with both peril and opportunity. However, with the allocation of points, the inherent danger of the fishing hook was entirely mitigated, albeit the upper limit of its yield was significantly diminished. As previously noted, Su Yunzhou was inherently averse to risk, so he did not feel regret over this outcome. On the contrary, he was quite satisfied. Next item, talisman to banish evil spirits 1 type, item quality, superior, charges, 3 effect 1. Upon use, all evil spirits within a 5-meter radius will suffer substantial exorcism damage for 1 hour. Effect 2. Changes usage to charges. Consuming 1 energy crystal allows for 3 recharges. Su Yunzhou assessed, not bad, I now possess the means to contend with Eastern Phantoms. Skill book, Designated good juice consumption. Type. Skill card, skill level. D. Skill description. A medical skill that consumes 5 points of spiritual power and 5 points of physical strength to generate a bottle of good juice. This juice randomly provides a certain degree of healing effect and guarantees a recovery of 10 points of stamina each time good juice is consumed. There is a 1 chance of permanently increasing physique by 1. Note: the good juice produced by this skill cannot be consumed by the skill's user. Otherwise, it will have no effect. Su Yunzhou's eyes lit up. The reduced consumption and the absence of cooldown limitations were indeed appealing. Unfortunately, it still could not benefit the user directly. He tossed the skill book to Fina, instructing her, "Learn this skill and conjure a bottle for me to see." Oh. Fina obediently accepted the skill book. Su Yunzhou continued to examine the next item. Treasure-seeking mechanical dog of Paw Patrol. Type. Pet quality. Perfect effect 1. Treasure-seeking. Slightly effect 2. Khaki detachment state. Slightly effect 3. As a member of Paw Patrol, this mechanical dog is certainly extraordinary. All attributes are 10, and it possesses the exclusive ability to carry heavy objects, is amphibious, and provides aerial support. Description: there are no difficult tasks, only brave dogs. Good dog. Su Yunzhou praised immediately. At that moment, Fina had already acquired the new skill. After a brief attempt, she indeed conjured a bottle of juice in her hands. It was packaged in a cardboard box with a sealed cap, ready to drink upon opening. Su Yunzhou glanced at the ingredient list and shelf life, only to find the details obscured and illegible. He proceeded to appraise the juice. Good juice. Type. Consumable quality. Ordinary effect. Provides a certain degree of healing effect, restoring 10 points of stamina. Description: this time, the flavor is lemon. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin thoughtfully. Not only is this a medical item, but it could also theoretically serve as a source of drinking water. Perhaps the juice even contains vitamins. With this thought in mind, he opened the cap and took a sip. The taste was sweet and tangy, reminiscent of typical orange juice, but seemingly fresher and more robust. Could it truly be freshly squeezed? Contemplating this, he encouraged both the black cat and Fina to take a sip. The black cat showed little interest, sniffed the aroma, licked it once, and then refused to drink further. Fina candidly remarked, "It feels like I haven't drunk anything at all. I can't even sense the flavor, let alone quench my thirst." Well, seeing that both the person and the cat found it unpalatable, Su Yunzhou happily finished the juice himself. Then he pointed at Fina, "Another bottle, please." Fina pouted, "Boss, my recovery speed for stamina and spiritual power isn't as quick as yours." Chapter 56. The 1-meter-long fish shocks everyone. Observing Fina's pitiable demeanor, Su Yunzhou contemplated for a moment before abandoning his intention to extract juice. He had experienced the sensation of both physical stamina and spiritual energy plummeting below 20 points, a feeling akin to enduring 2 sleepless nights followed by a vigorous 5,000-meter race. An excruciating dual torment for both body and soul. Of course, this was merely a metaphorical expression of his feelings and not an exact representation of the situation. After all, in such circumstances, the risk of sudden demise was considerably heightened. As the leader, Su Yunzhou was resolute in not exploiting his subordinates. He mused aloud, "Initially, I intended for you to produce 15 bottles per day for trade. However, it appears that may be somewhat excessive." He then proposed, "How about this? You can produce 5 bottles of juice daily, which should suffice for my needs. What do you think?" Fina's face radiated gratitude as she replied, "Thank you for your understanding, boss." Su Yunzhou chose not to engage further with her, opting instead to hang the fishing hook and await the fruits of his labor the following day. He then retrieved the energy crystal and commenced his cultivation. Having exhausted the blood of the bishi, he had entered a 24-hour period of weakness and had not practiced until now. With just 40 experience points remaining to reach level 6, he conservatively estimated that it would take 3 more days. Yet, the thought of the increasing bronze and silver points he would acquire with each upgrade filled him with anticipation. Not to mention, there were still the yet-to-be-unlocked gold points. As Su Yunzhou settled into meditation, both Fina and Hakimi prudently refrained from disturbing him. Hakimi made his way to the front of the train, where most items had been transferred to the temperature-controlled compartment, leaving only a single chair and a few resource boxes. However, there remained a cat climbing frame that Su Yunzhou had previously exchanged, serving as Hakimi's source of entertainment. Fina, on the other hand, went to the black soil compartment, Naturally, Su Yunzhou was disinterested in observing the growth of the breadfruit tree. He couldn't even muster the energy to check on it, let alone water it. Thus, the tasks of watering and fertilizing were entirely entrusted to the former scientist. Fortunately, the black soil compartment, designed as a modern agricultural greenhouse, was equipped with numerous semi-automated facilities. Once Fina learned to operate them, the task would not be arduous. Time passed serenely, and another day came to a close. The next day, Su Yunzhou, Fina, and Hakimi gathered together, their faces etched with disbelief. Before them lay the fishing hook they had retrieved just the day prior, now adorned with a fish. This fish measured over a meter in length, known as the Chinese perch, prized for its delectable flesh, possessing only large bones and no small ones. It was indeed rare for a fish to grow to such a size. Furrowing his brow, Su Yunzhou turned to Fina and inquired, "Can we finish this fish in one meal?" Fina immediately shook her head. "Impossible, absolutely impossible." Su Yunzhou regarded the Chinese perch, which continued to thrash on the hook, and suggested, "Let us find a bucket to keep it in for the time being. The next station is about to arrive, and we scarcely have time to prepare. We can discuss it after the train departs." Fina nodded in understanding. At that moment, both Fina and Su Yunzhou turned to the black cat, Hakimi, admonishing, "You mustn't indulge yourself." Hakimi, caught in their gaze, nonchalantly licked its paw and retreated to a corner. It grasped the distinction between a hearty meal and mere snacking. As Su Yunzhou stroked his chin, he pondered, if each fish were of such size, it would warrant consideration for sale. After all, he could not consume fish daily. With this thought in mind, he nostalgically glanced at the chat room, which had dwindled to 155 participants. Compared to the initial dramatic decline, the drop in numbers over the past 2 days had been remarkably steady. However, food remained a significant concern. Through the trading platform, Su Yunzhou noted a decrease in prices for weapons, equipment, energy crystals, and skill books. Even the price of ammunition had seen a slight reduction. Yet, the cost of food remained resolute. He could still exchange a single compressed biscuit for an ordinary piece of equipment. The reason for this was that, within the G8 zone, no one had managed to consistently produce a substantial food supply. Even with fertile land like Su Yunzhou's, the issue of seeds loomed large. Even if one possessed land and seeds, immediate harvest within a few days was improbable. Well, even if crops existed that could mature and bear fruit within a day in this world, how could one cultivate enough to feed 2,000 people within such a confined train? Ultimately, most would have to rely on self-sufficiency. The ability to be self-sufficient depended entirely on the generosity of the station to which the train was bound. With good fortune, they might randomly arrive at a recently harvested orchard, providing an abundance of food. With bad luck, they could find themselves in a desert on the moon in Antarctica or during the late Ming Dynasty, leaving them to starve. At that moment, someone in the group messaged him, "Su, why haven't you been selling compressed biscuits lately?" Indeed, such long-lasting food was precisely what everyone needed. He couldn't hoard it all. Even if he didn't sell, Su could at least share pictures of his meals. Yes, yes. Let us all quench our thirst for hope. Someone chimed in. I plan to eat some snow with Su's dishes to stave off hunger. Seeing the enthusiasm from the crowd, Su Yunzhou pondered for a moment before sharing a picture of the fish he had just caught, positioning his hand beside it for size comparison. Once this photo was sent, it created a commotion akin to a stone thrown into a pack of dogs, eliciting a cacophony of excited barks. Aminos, how can you eat so well? It's not fair. This train game is utterly unjust. Su, you're my dear brother. Even my father would suffice. Please share a fish head with me. I'll call you Dad. Su, you certainly don't eat the innards, do you? Why not give them to me? I can cook anything. I beg you. Beg? You'll have to wait in line. Su, are you selling this fish? What's the price? Su Yunzhou pondered for a moment before stating a price. 10 energy crystals, no room for negotiation. However, upon uttering those words, no one dared to respond. While energy crystals were known to many, the individuals who actually possessed them remained exceedingly few. Some were fortunate, like Su Yunzhou, having randomly encountered a train entry that provided energy crystals. Others had methods to consistently acquire white treasure chests. There were also those whose resources were ample enough to trade for energy crystals from others. Yet, such individuals could be counted on one's fingers. In the current G8 district, only Su Yunzhou could present 10 energy crystals. Of course, the absence of energy crystals did not imply a lack of equivalent items. Qin Ruoshui offered 3 grade skill books in exchange for fish. The attachments included Skill Book, Mighty Palm. Effect, increases your palm damage by 60. Skill Book, Never Fall Asleep. Effect, you will never experience a stiff neck, regardless of natural or artificial causes. Skill Book, Summon Maggots. Effect, summons a normal-sized maggot. Lasting for 10 minutes, with a cooldown of 10 minutes. Su Yunzhou scoffed. What rubbish do you dare to present? Is this a beggar's offering? Qin Ruoshui retorted. How dare you belittle my 3 divine skills? 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. Do not underestimate a young girl in poverty. Chapter 57. The Ninth Stop. Bank robbery station. Su Yunzhou chose to ignore the other party, as he received a message from another friend. Wu Shuang. Fish, it's enormous. This is what I mentioned earlier. I'm sharing it with you. Thank you, kind-hearted brother Su. Initially, Su Yunzhou assumed she also sought to trade for fish. But to his surprise, she sent him a piece of smoked leg meat. The leg appeared to belong to a formidable beast. Though it was unlikely to be from an elephant, it was more likely from a tiger, leopard, or wolf. Moreover, it was neither too large nor too small, weighing approximately 20 pounds. Cradling the smoked leg, Su Yunzhou inquired about its taste. Wu Shuang replied, it's salty, meaty, and quite delicious. Su Yunzhou stroked his chin. Contemplating, it seems she has already tasted it. This meat might be fine, but I shall let it sit for a few days to observe. However, Su Yunzhou had another means of testing for poison. Hakamai, a small black cat as dark as coal, pounced before Su Yunzhou, sitting upright in front of him. Subsequently, Su Yunzhou used a kitchen knife, acquired from the supermarket in Bloody Town, to slice off a piece of the smoked meat and tossed it to Hakamai. Naturally, he knew to bring seasonings and household appliances. He could not possibly forget essential kitchen tools such as knives, cutting boards, and pots. After watching Hakamai relish the meat for a while, Su Yunzhou heard the system notification once more. The ninth stop had arrived. This time, however, the system prompt bore a distinct nature. Please note that as the final station of the first tier, this stop serves as a test for all train conductors. At the ninth station, you will be unable to choose to remain on the train. Forcing the choice to linger within the train will only lead to self-destruction. Strive to survive, and do not forsake your train. Upon reading this message, Su Yunzhou instinctively sought to inquire with the train's AI and check the situation within the chat room. However, he soon discovered that both the AI in the chat room, as well as the trading platform, had all been rendered inaccessible. It was evident that those who realized the necessity to enhance their combat capabilities after hearing this prompt were already too late. How intriguing! Are the criteria becoming increasingly stringent? This time, who knows how many lives will be lost? Su Yunzhou murmured to himself as the train informed him of the details regarding the next station. The train will arrive in 10 minutes. All conductors are advised to prepare. Next station, bank robbery station difficulty. First tier type, solo danger level, high reward level, generous special note. You are well aware that you do not need to rob money. Special restriction. At this station, you cannot bring pets or teammates. You must rely solely on yourself. Upon reading this message, Su Yunzhou promptly seized Hakimi, who was still eating meat, and commanded, Hakimi, come here. The dark cat leaped gracefully, transforming into a streak of light that flew into Su Yunzhou as Pokeball. He then turned to Fina and quickly said, I can't take you with me this time. Stay on the train and be safe. Now, do your utmost to produce juice for me. The more the better. At that moment, Fina had 115 points of physical energy and 110 points of spiritual energy. Upon hearing his words, she immediately began to release her skills incessantly. A total of 18 bottles of fine juice were packed into Su Yunzhou's enormous backpack, combined with 4 bottles from the previous day, making a total of 22 bottles. Meanwhile, Fina lay exhausted on the ground, her body devoid of strength, her eyes vacant, muttering, There's truly not a drop left. I can't extract any more. Su Yunzhou rummaged through the medical kit, retrieving some painkillers and bandages, placing them into his backpack. He then glanced at the paper doll nearby, attempting to stow it into his bag as well. Indeed, it fit. As time dwindled to the final 3 minutes, Su Yunzhou heard another prompt. You have acquired 1 silver point. Upon hearing this announcement, his mind raced as he swiftly selected the most suitable piece of equipment from his existing arsenal for enhancement. Heaven-S Mirror Armor 2 type, armor quality, epic defense, extremely high defensive capability, effect 1. Ranged attacks with a power lower than this armor's defense will inflict no damage upon you, regardless of whether the attack hits the armor. Effect 2. absorbs one lethal blow. Once this effect is triggered, the equipment will lose its effect. Consuming one energy crystal can restore this effect. Effect 3. Mirror Shield. An active skill that generates a mirror shield resembling an eggshell, enveloping your entire being, allowing for normal movement. Unless subjected to damage sufficient to destroy the equipment, the mirror shield remains intact and reflects all ranged attacks. Cooldown, 3 hours. Effect 4. Mirage. Upon triggering Effect 2, an identical phantom will be created in your original location, while you will gain triple agility and become invisible for 45 seconds. Just as Su Yunzhou finished reading this information, his eyes lit up and he teleported to another location. The sound of gunfire echoed through the hall, followed by the piercing screams of women, the cries of children, and the cacophony of chaotic footsteps. Everyone, duck and cover. Do not move. Anyone who dares to stir will be shot. As Su Yunzhou commenced the 9th station, he found himself in the illusory realm, the Twilight City. This city stands as an absolute neutral ground within the illusory realm, where even the most wanted individuals can find refuge. In the Tavern of Time, the Doomsayer sat leisurely in this unpretentious establishment. Although it appeared ordinary, time ceases to flow for anyone who becomes intoxicated within its walls. Even if one feels thoroughly inebriated for 7 days and nights, to those who remain sober, it seems only a fleeting moment has passed. This peculiar quality is what makes the tavern a favored haunt for many patrons. Do not let drunken indulgence interfere with your daily affairs, is the tavern's motto. A demigod stepped into the tavern, receiving only a passing glance from the patrons before they returned to their own affairs. Indeed, in the illusory realm, demigods are a rather commonplace sight, often possessing numerous avatars. The lower half resembling a hive, the upper half a feminine fertility deity, she floated towards the observer, her face clearly marked by anger. The observer looked up, chuckling. Did you think you could save Yifeng? Now, having failed, you come to seek retribution? The fertility deity's voice, though steady, carried a palpable fury. Observer, you claim I intervened? Who delivered the deathmatch ticket to Yifeng? Who has been covertly aiding Su Yunzhou? The observer quickly clarified. Yifeng tore up his fate card of his own accord, and I merely provided Su Yunzhou with fair recompense. Yifeng should have perished in the death arena. If you wish to protect him, you must be prepared to pay the price. To put it another way, if you had no ties to Su Yunzhou, how could you have suffered defeat at his hands, thereby granting him the opportunity to acquire your desecration card? As the conversation progressed, the observer spoke in a surprisingly gentle tone. Yifeng has already torn apart his fate card. He can no longer become your divine attendant. It would be wise for you to relinquish your divine status. After all, we only seek to eradicate those gods tainted by corruption. We do not concern ourselves with non-divine beings. The entity, known as Fanyu, now bore the grotesque mark of a peculiar energy that had eroded half of her face. This energy resembled an inky amalgamation of countless human visages, painted across the visage of the mother goddess. Deep down, she understood that surrendering her divine title would lead her to become a mindless monstrosity. The only thing preserving her sanity was her obsession with Yifeng, the true child she had brought into existence through immense effort, and even at the cost of offending the lords of demons. Should Yifeng perish, she would not hesitate to drag several trains into desolation to accompany her child in death. Chapter 58. The Grand Entrance of the Fourth Head. The observer, sensing the gravity of the moment, paused his speech and took a sip from his glass. I am no demon, and with Yifeng in his critically injured state, he cannot possibly endure the 9th station. Fortunately, I have assigned him to a station that poses no life-threatening risks. Sigh, perhaps this is the glow of the protagonist? Unlike Su Yunzhou, who receives no wagers and faces potential immediate demise at every station, Yifeng is surrounded by hidden support. Yet, how has he found himself in such dire straits? At this juncture, the apocalyptic observer's gaze sharpened, filled with disdain as he addressed Fanyu. Foolish deity. Go see for yourself what fate has befallen Yifeng. Once the observer departed, visions began to materialize in Fanyu's mind. Naturally, she had placed a soul-binding restriction within Yifeng, allowing her to monitor his condition at any time. Whether one considers this a mother's desire for control or mere surveillance, Fanyu viewed it as love for her child. In the present moment, Yifeng lay grievously injured, his complexion an ashen hue, limbs rendered powerless. Following the deadly duel, he had hidden within the train during the 8th station, refraining from any exploration. He was incapable of such endeavors. His abdomen lay torn and ravaged, his entire being marred with terrifying wounds. After 2 days of lying in silence and consuming ample sustenance, he discovered, to his astonishment, that his body was slowly healing. Flesh was regenerating on his previously mutilated lower half. This revelation filled him with immense joy. However, Yifeng soon realized that his innate talent had suffered a severe decline. Vitality, maximum physical capacity increased by 25. Additional physique of 3, your level, not exceeding 10. Upon discovering the pitiful state of his abilities, Yifeng unleashed his fury, smashing every object within the train. Yet, ultimately, he could only resign himself to reality. Simultaneously, his animosity towards Su Yunzhao deepened, now intertwined with a profound, bone-chilling fear. As time returns to the present, Yifeng's train arrives at the 9th station. Upon reaching the 9th station, he is immediately transported. 9th station, a room from which one cannot escape. Difficult, level 1 type, solo. On the pristine white bed, petals of pink roses are scattered. The weakened Yifeng lies sprawled in the center of the grand bed. At that moment, the lights around him blaze brightly. 4 robust and powerful figures emerge from the shadows, accompanied by a surge of vigorous music as they approach Yifeng. Many may already surmise who these 4 individuals are. The 4 kings have made their grand entrance. Each possesses extraordinary talents. Each has their unique secret techniques. Their resolve and patience are truly astonishing. Their hidden weapons promise unexpected surprises. Subsequently, a scene of ultimate humiliation unfolds before the eyes of the mother of breeding. Yet now, she finds herself utterly unable to intervene. Breeding grits her teeth. Viewer, is all of this part of your scheme? In the 1980s, on the sun-drenched shores of Florida, there exists a city rife with drugs, gangs, and a populace that ranges from immense wealth to abject poverty. Its name is on the tip of one's tongue, Sin City. Of course, the bank heist currently facing Su Yunzhu bears no relation to the main storyline of Sin City. In this city, any crime occurring at any time or place is hardly surprising. Main quest, content, survive safely inside the bank for 3 hours. Reward, 1 green treasure chest. At this moment, numerous conjectures flash through Su Yunzhu's mind. Cover your head. Crouch down. 5 robbers, clad in black hoods, have begun to take control of the situation. One of them swiftly forces the front desk to fill a bag with money. Hurry up. Fill it up. Whatever you have, put it in. Most of the money is in the vault. Just give me everything you have at the counter, you bastard. Meanwhile, the other 4 quickly secure the area, gathering and subduing all innocent civilians. Throw out all your phones. Anyone who dares to call the police, I'll shoot them immediately. You over there. Why are you just standing there? Hurry up and cover your head. Do you want to be shot? You fool. One particularly burly robber, seeing Su Yunzhu still observing coldly from the corner, is instantly filled with rage and rushes over. You son of a bitch. How dare you ignore me? Old 3. Don't go around shooting people, cautions a more seasoned voice. He is the leader of this 5-man gang. I know, boss. The muscular old 3 approaches Su Yunzhu, gun pointed at his head while gripping his shoulder with the other hand. Get over here. Crouch down over there. Do you want to die? Nevertheless, Su Yunzhou maintained an expression of tranquility, even exuding a sense of pity for humanity. I remarked, your professional demeanor is truly embarrassing. It appears this is your inaugural bank heist, and your preparation has been woefully inadequate. You haven't even managed to plan your timing. Nor do you know how much money to carry during the robbery. With robbers of your caliber, 9 out of 10 are apprehended, and the last one is often eliminated on the spot. By the way, I must inquire, do you know how long it takes for the nearest police station to respond and reach this bank? Ordinary individuals would feel uncomfortable after such remarks, let alone bank robbers who are fugitives. Thus, he immediately grew furious. You dare to lecture us on robbery. Do you think I wouldn't dare to kill you, you bastard? As he approached Su Yunzhou, the latter had already extended his hand into the backpack behind him. This action was not concealed, and thus the assailant observed Su Yunzhou retrieving an object. What are you trying to do? Stop at once. In such circumstances, what do you think I intend to do? As a robber, this man demonstrated quick reflexes. Upon seeing Su Yunzhou extract an object resembling a gun from his backpack, he instinctively opened fire. This guy has a gun. The shout reverberated, drawing the attention of not only the robbers, but also the civilians crouched on the floor. What followed was a scene of sheer terror. As the bullets struck the man, they became soft and powerless, akin to pebbles lightly bouncing off Soo Yoon-jo's head, chest, and abdomen before falling to the ground. The sensation was neither like hitting bulletproof glass nor akin to impacting a non-Newtonian fluid. It was simply the feeling that the bullets had completely lost their kinetic energy in the vicinity of that man's body. How is this possible? Could he be an extraordinary being? A superhero? We are saved. Damn you lot, don't move. I'll shoot if anyone stirs. After Soo Yoon-jo's body rendered those bullets ineffective, chaos ensued within the bank. Stay calm, my friends. Yet, Soo Yoon-jo remained unfazed, his demeanor as serene as ever. However, in this world, the mere mention of the term superhero elicited an unsettling feeling within Soo Yoon-jo. What is going on? Is this city Gotham? With an automatic pistol aimed at the robbers, Soo Yoon-jo commanded, "Now, drop your weapons and crouch down with your heads held." Naturally, the robbers were disinclined to comply. The composed leader had already aimed his gun at the group of civilians. "Don't make any sudden moves. Otherwise, I will shoot them." Yet Soo Yoon-jo wore an expression of indifference. "Feel free." Damn, are you even a superhero? You show no concern for the lives of the civilians. Soo Yoon-jo turned his head, his expression calm. At what point did you hear me claim to be a superhero? Chapter 59. Hostage and trade. The blaring of police sirens echoed, growing increasingly louder as they approached. Meanwhile, the getaway driver waiting outside felt a surge of panic. He was the sixth member of the five-man band of robbers, tasked with driving the crew away after their bank heist. They aimed to escape the clutches of the crime-ridden city, where the skies were vast for birds to soar and the seas expansive for fish to swim. However, as the sirens drew nearer, his anxiety intensified. Why have they not emerged yet? I have waited so long. I cannot bear the thought of being captured alongside them. I must survive. Inside the bank, the leader's voice remained steady. My friend, we only seek wealth. We harbor no other intentions. The police are on their way. We must leave immediately. Hurry, grab the bags of money, and let us withdraw. Soo Yoon-jo merely smiled faintly. Is this the moment you choose to flee? Your confidence is rather misplaced. Wouldn't you agree? As soon as he finished speaking, the vehicles outside roared to life, and in a cacophony of noise, they made their escape. Damn it, you coward! The leader's scolding echoed as the formidable police force surrounded the bank. You are encircled. Surrender now, and I shall advocate for leniency before the judge, the loudspeaker announced, accompanied by the relentless wail of sirens, sending the robbers into disarray. At this moment, only the leader maintained his composure. Let us retreat back into the bank. We have numerous hostages. Perhaps we can negotiate with the police. Suddenly, a voice emerged from behind them. No, you're mistaken. The hostages are not yours. They are mine. Soo Yoon-jo's expression remained tranquil, a hint of mischief dancing in his smile. Now, would you kindly crouch down with your hands on your heads? You scoundrel! The sound of gunfire erupted, sending shockwaves through those inside the bank, while the police outside were thrown into turmoil. Damn it, do not fire at the hostages. Otherwise, we will consider a forced entry. As the loudspeaker blared once more, two bodies, clad in black hoods, lay lifeless within the bank. The leader and the more timid fifth member had huddled with the hostages. Soo Yoon-jo seated himself at the bank counter, picking up the phone. I believe it should be the police. How may I assist you? Hello. I'm a bank robber currently surrounded by the police. Could you please help me contact the officers outside? I would greatly appreciate it. Upon hearing these words, the operator fell momentarily silent. He had never encountered such a scenario before. Yet, with only one bank in Evil City under siege, he swiftly connected with the sheriff leading the police response. I am a sheriff of Vice City. You may refer to me as Blake. Soo Yoon-jo felt a sense of relief upon not hearing the mention of Gotham City, yet his lips twitched in disbelief. How could a sheriff so nonchalantly utter the name of Vice City? Is this truly acceptable? Soo Yoon-jo chuckled lightly. Sheriff Blake, greetings. What was that gunfire about? Were there civilian casualties? Blake responded with calmness. Rest assured, Sheriff, although there were indeed fatalities, they were solely the two robbers. No civilians have been harmed thus far. However, this does not guarantee that civilians will remain unharmed moving forward. Therefore, I propose a transaction. As Soo Yoon-jo conversed over the phone, he meticulously collected all firearms from the robbers, unloading the bullets and stowing them in his backpack. After all, These robbers were merely attempting to rob a bank, not orchestrate a terror attack, so their ammunition was limited. Having confiscated the firearms and spare magazines of the 5 men, Su Yunzhou acquired nearly 150 rounds of ammunition. Yes, that should suffice. Blake, on the other end of the line, maintained a composed demeanor. You may propose any terms. However, we must first send in our negotiation experts to ascertain the safety of the hostages. Absolutely not. Su Yunzhou immediately countered. I will fire at anyone who attempts to enter. Blake shouted in frustration. How can I negotiate when I am unaware of the hostages' safety? Su Yunzhou candidly stated. If you refuse to negotiate, I will kill everyone and then surrender. He knew he only needed to hold out for 3 hours and had no real intention of escaping. Thus he felt bold. Very well, what do you desire? Su Yunzhou declared, within the next 3 hours, prepare an armored vehicle, fully fueled, to be waiting at the bank's entrance. I currently have 36 hostages, along with the remaining 2 robbers, totaling 38. I will release 1 hostage every 10 minutes until the 3 hours are up. If the vehicle arrives, I will leave immediately and no civilians will be harmed. If the vehicle does not arrive, then the remaining hostages will perish alongside me. Upon hearing this, Blake refrained from further discussion, directly instructing his team through the phone's microphone. Prepare an armored vehicle immediately, fully fueled. Understood. Blake continued speaking with Su Yunzhou. You are one of the more reasonable robbers I have encountered. Under normal circumstances, one would expect a hostage to be executed every 10 minutes. Oh, rest assured, Sheriff Blake, killing serves no benefit to me. This is merely a formal transaction. There is no need for undue tension. Please await my call again in 10 minutes. Beep beep. The police officers exchanged glances. For the individual on the other end of the line appeared anything but a typical robber. Meanwhile, Su Yunzhou had already secured the bank's doors. He aimed his pistol at a middle-aged, portly man clad in a suit and said, You must be the manager here. Do not fret. I shall only ask a few questions. The middle-aged man stood up, his face etched with terror. He had no idea how Su Yunzhou had discerned his position as the bank manager, but he was acutely aware that being singled out at this moment foretold a dire fate. Yet, he also understood that remaining seated would lead to an even graver outcome. Upon seeing him rise, Su Yunzhou inquired with a smile, Is there an employee cafeteria in the bank? Yes, there is, the manager stammered. Take me there. With this utterance, all present, including the summon manager, were taken aback. Why was this man, instead of overseeing the hostages, seeking to go to an employee cafeteria? Was he not in his right mind? However, it soon became apparent why he exuded such confidence. The peculiar assailant tossed a sphere, and in the next instant, a shadowy feline leaped out. In a heartbeat, this cat transformed into a colossal creature, towering at 2 or 3 meters high, gazing down upon them like a sovereign of beasts. Anyone daring to make a rash move would be preparing to become its next meal. Chapter 60. Only robbing supplies. Not wealth in truth. Su Yunzhou had another option, summoning the frenzied rose. However, given the time constraints of this summoning ability, he opted to reserve it for later. Deploying a Hakimi in this scenario was sufficiently intimidating for these ordinary individuals. At that moment, someone voiced a concern. What if they attempt to escape while Su Yunzhou is absent? Su Yunzhou had anticipated such a scenario. Hence, he spent the next quarter of an hour utilizing nylon zip ties already present in the bank to bind everyone's hands behind their backs, securing both their hands and feet. He then procured burlap sacks, originally intended for carrying money, and placed them over the heads of all present. After this thorough arrangement, even in the absence of a guard, it would be nearly impossible for anyone to open the bank doors and flee. Moreover, with the spiked-back Hakimi vigilantly watching, they were even less inclined to act foolishly. Now, only the bank manager and Su Yunzhou retained the ability to see and move freely. As a middle-aged man, the bank manager stood no chance against Su Yunzhou. Even without a firearm, Su Yunzhou could easily subdue him. Upon completing these tasks, he immediately received a new notification. Progress has been updated. You have gained control within the bank. You may now transport supplies back to the train. Please note, you are still unable to return to the train yourself. After receiving this notification, Su Yunzhou discovered he could summon a door at will. Indeed, a door. Lead me to the frozen food storage area. There must be one, correct? The manager dared not utter another word and hurriedly guided Su Yunzhou to the location. He simply could not fathom what this individual intended. Was he hungry? Preparing to cook a meal? Soon, Su Yunzhou followed the bank manager to the staff cafeteria. He couldn't help but exclaim, "I never expected that in this decaying capitalist state, there would be such warm-hearted capitalists who would establish a cafeteria for their employees." The manager chuckled, "Of course. This way we can directly deposit what would have been meal allowances into the meal cards and then make a profit." Su Yunzhou observed that the cafeteria was quite modest in size, featuring merely 2 large double-door refrigerators, a freezer, and a storage area for rice, flour, and condiments. After surveying the premises, he felt a surge of excitement. It was the first time he had encountered such a generous station that could provide him with an abundance of food. However, he was unaware that at the upcoming tent station, they would be heading to a civilized city. There, for any capable train conductor, exchanging for sufficient food would be virtually effortless. In other words, after the tent station, food would experience a devaluation. Of course, Su Yunzhou was oblivious to this information. Even if he had known, he would have had no reason to forego the food that was already within his grasp. Casting a glance at the freezer, Su Yunzhou remarked, "I didn't expect your staff cafeteria to be quite compliant. Are these the only leftovers from the previous night?" The manager awkwardly chuckled again. "These are the meat and vegetables purchased 3 days ago. We've been consuming them since then. This is the last little bit, and we'll need to buy more tomorrow." Su Yunzhou nodded. "All right, I'll take all of this with me. You have no objections, do you?" The manager smiled obsequiously. "How could I object? But sir, how do you plan to take these ingredients with you?" With a puzzled expression, Su Yunzhou replied, "I'll just take the refrigerator as well. How else would I carry it?" In the next moment, Su Yunzhou pointed, and a special door, 3 meters high and 2 meters wide, appeared at the location he indicated. The manager was now entirely convinced that this individual was a superhero. Oh no, he should be referred to as a supercriminal. First, he had outsmarted the bank robbers. And now he was hijacking the entire bank. How terrifying. Approaching one of the refrigerators, Su Yunzhou unplugged it and, with some effort, lifted it and slowly maneuvered it through the door. Meanwhile, inside the train, a worried Fiona suddenly noticed that the train door had opened on its own. A faint white light appeared, preventing her from exiting. However, she soon received a note from Su Yunzhou, indicating that he was sending some supplies into the train and that she should prepare accordingly. How can this be so large? She wondered. Will it really fit? Yes, it would fit. The train door was not small, and the double-door refrigerator would indeed make it through. Fiona stared at the metal cube blocking the train door, her expression one of utter bewilderment. However, this issue would soon cease to trouble her. The Paw Patrol treasure-hunting robotic dog sprang into action. To Fina's astonishment, 2 arm-thick, extending arms emerged from the sides of the mechanical dog. These metallic limbs grasped the double-door refrigerator and effortlessly transported it. Fina's eyes lit up, and she quickly directed the mechanical dog to place the refrigerator in the corner of the compartment. Following Su Yunzhou's instructions, she plugged in the refrigerator. After finally completing these tasks, Fina noticed yet another bulky iron object squeezing through the door. Tears of frustration welled in her eyes. Why was there more? Fortunately, she did not need to handle these heavy items herself. As a member of Paw Patrol, the treasure-hunting robotic dog now possessed the capability to move heavy objects. It could easily transport these refrigerators and position them in the designated corners as per Fina's directives. Subsequently, there was yet another freezer, 100 pounds of rice, 300 pounds of wheat flour, oils, salts, and seasonings, the quantities seemingly endless. The bank manager, witnessing this scene, was utterly bewildered. He could not comprehend why this supercriminal was transporting such trivial items instead of making use of his abilities to haul money from a bank. With wealth, what could not be acquired? Yet, as a rational being, the bank manager understood. One must not attempt to decipher the logic of a supercriminal. If they were of sound mind, they would not be a supercriminal in the first place. While handling these items, Su Yunzhou maintained contact with the sheriff outside. He needed to keep the armed forces at bay. Should they rush in, controlling the situation within the bank would become exceedingly difficult, let alone the comfortable transport of supplies. Considering the potential existence of superheroes in this world, Su Yunzhou had to conceal his strength as much as possible. He undoubtedly had the capability to manage the officers outside. But what then? What if a superhero truly appeared? To take a step back, the train's mission was to safely remain in the bank for 3 hours. What reason did he have to stir trouble unnecessarily and create complications for himself? Chapter 61. The great currency carnival outside the bank, the streets were completely surrounded by police, sealing every exit tightly. Barricades had been erected around the area, prohibiting unauthorized personnel from approaching. Yet, everyone was aware that this was a city rife with crime. Countless onlookers, journalists, and photographers formed a human wall beyond the barricades. Due to the hostages, the police had no intention of forcefully breaching the bank. Moreover, Sui and Zhou indeed kept his promise, releasing a hostage, blindfolded and with their hands and feet bound, every 10 minutes. The hostages darted toward the bank's entrance like rabbits, bounding with urgency. Over 30 minutes had elapsed since the third hostage was released, following Su Yunzhou's entry into the bank. One of Sheriff Blake's deputies approached promptly to report. The armored vehicle had been fully prepared and refueled, while the technical team was in the process of installing explosives and a GPS tracking system on the vehicle. Sheriff Blake spoke with a calm demeanor. Allow them to proceed at their own pace. There is no need for haste, and we must avoid any errors. Yes, Sheriff Blake. After a moment's hesitation, the officer cautiously inquired, Sheriff, must we truly wait here for 3 hours? Is it not rather passive to let the criminals dictate our actions? Furthermore, we have deployed nearly half our force to surround this bank. Sheriff Blake shook his head and replied, You must understand that our paramount duty is to apprehend the criminals, provide accountability to the public, and ensure the safety of all. He placed a reassuring hand on the young officer's shoulder and continued, Young man, one of the most crucial skills for a police officer is the ability to gather intelligence. By observing that individual's words and actions, I can ascertain that this is likely his first offense. We must not pressure him at this juncture. If we corner him, he may resort to desperate measures. For now, we must align with his rhythm, while subtly laying traps, for ultimately, it is merely a matter of time before we capture him. The young officer's eyes sparkled with admiration. Sheriff, your wisdom is an endless lesson. Sheriff Blake waved him off. Go attend to your duties. Inside the bank, the manager, following instructions, filled 2 burlap sacks with cash without tying them shut. After watching the bank manager complete the task, Su Yunzhou smiled, secured the bags, and donned one himself. As time passed, he had released a total of 16 hostages. Only a few minutes remained before the 3-hour mark. At that moment, Su Yunzhou received a system notification. The train will arrive at the street entrance of the bank, approximately 3 meters above ground. Please prepare accordingly. Train departure